Going live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. How you all doing? My name is Eric. We have a lot of Manchester United news to get into. Please smash the like button for me real quick if you can. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. We have news on injury boost, players coming back to injury. Tyrell Malacia, Mason Mount possibly might feature against Crystal Palace. Rasmus Hojlund with the traveling squad, so all good news. Victor Lindelof also back in training, so very, very positive news on that front. We have a story with developing stuff about Old Trafford. They may potentially abandon it completely. We're gonna get into that. We want your thoughts on that. That's gonna be a very touchy subject. I know a lot of people that they absolutely will not budge on the fact that Manchester United must keep Old Trafford. Others don't care as much and would like a new stadium and are excited by a new stadium. So we're gonna get into all of that. We also have some comments from Erik ten Hag in his press conference, and we are going to do a little bit of a Crystal Palace versus Manchester United preview for the match tomorrow. So let's get straight into it, and we are going to start off with the Old Trafford stuff. So if you're ready to go, Old Trafford Task Force is set to deliver its recommendation for the future of Manchester United Stadium by the end of December. The task force, which is due to meet again on Thursday, was assembled earlier this year to explore options for Old Trafford's future, including either redeveloping the existing structure or building a new stadium entirely. And this is coming from The Athletic. So The Athletic, very, very credible, and they have some follow-ups onto this, which is Chris Wheeler, and this is in the order that it was posted on social media, so it's going to jump around a little bit, but don't worry about it. So the news that we got after that was that Manchester United are ready to abandon plans to keep Old Trafford if they build a new stadium. They now realize the scaling down Old Trafford to around 30,000 capacity and hosting academy and women's fixtures will be too complex and unlikely to work, which is not very good, not a good sign, because that was kind of the hope. So it was kind of almost like a win-win for everybody that kind of wanted to keep Old Trafford around, because it is considered a historic just venue, monument, whatever, iconic, whatever you want to call it. So there was the plan to scale it down, keep it around, and use it for the women's fixtures and host academy get matches as well, which I was in support of, because I kind of want the building to still stand. It's a bit sad for me, if that structure no longer exists, for how long it's been around and all of the great things that have happened in that place over the time. So I do want it to exist, and Chris Wheeler here is saying that the potential rumors is that that plan is going to be abandoned because it's just far too complex, and it's probably just completely not worth it financially and other aspects to get it done. So I mean, I don't know. We also had comments from Gary Neville, who is apparently also on the council for this committee that is determining what to do with Old Trafford and how they're going to move forward. Lion Hearts is here. Lion, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Glad you could join us. It's been a while. So Lions is saying, so we just get New Trafford. I mean, listen, I'm not under any illusion or anything like that. I do know that we do need a new stadium. I know that Old Trafford and just from hearing the complications around what is going on right now about Old Trafford, we do need a new stadium. It is very, very outdated in certain aspects, and to help the club move forward into a new era, in terms of the likes of what Tottenham are doing, where they, can hold all sorts of events, which generates a lot more revenue, and revenue will help the club in the long run in terms of transfers and all types of stuff. So, I'm not under any illusion. We probably most likely the best possible solution, regardless of my feelings of how I feel about Old Trafford, is most likely to get a new stadium. to have it everything state of the art. Now, obviously, how we're going to afford that and the implications of that, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe and co, they need to, get investment or raise funds for that in a way. So that also probably has some implications, because it depends where they're going to get the money from, and what that implicates. Does that mean that, it won't be called, like, does it mean that the name won't follow, won't be called the Old Trafford anymore, to be called Spotify Stadium or something like that? And that might have, a little bit of impact on me, because I don't want it to be named the brand so much. um so we'll see. But Gary Neville was speaking on it, as I was saying before. And let me just open all of these so we could get the full quotes. So Gary Neville, who is like on the committee for, deciding on this, the Old Trafford matter and the stadium, he spoke to the Athletic, and he was saying that I am not overly emotional about the stadium, as long as United get a world class refurbishment or a world class new stadium. The United fans win, and at least there is an action plan to do something about it after years of nothing. He went on to say, what is it that we'd be saving? Yes, we must keep the statues, the Munich clock, a tunnel. They must be a part of whatever Old Trafford becomes. He also went on to say, I get that the location of the pitch is important to some fans, but I was at Tottenham versus Arsenal on Sunday. I don't think any Tottenham fans went there thinking about the location of the pitch, and that it's different to the one Glenn Huddle played on. So Gary Neville giving his 2 cents. He's obviously entitled to his opinion. And obviously it's going to divide opinion in the fan base, because, as I said already, this is a very kind of controversial issue, and many fans very heavily opinionated about this issue. And, like he mentioned, even the location, it's up to, from big details to small details. There's a lot of fans that are, have a lot of arguments for both sides. Axe is in here. Axe has joined us. Axe, how you doing? Can you please repeat which decision has been taken concerning the stadium? So we're getting there. All we've gone over so far is that, besides what Gary Neville has said, these two things have been said. So the first thing, and this is going in order, I put them in chronological order of the news released. So the first piece was from yesterday, I believe, saying that the Old Trafford Task Force is delivered to its recommendation for the future, of United Stadium by the end of December. So no official actual decision has been made, but one is coming, one is on the way. They are leaning certain ways, and there are certain updates coming along that we should probably keep an eye out for. And they said that the task force, which is due to meet again on Thursday, so next Thursday, was assembled earlier this year to explore the options, for the future of Old Trafford and redeveloping the existing structure or building a new stadium. We then got a separate thing, because a lot of this is coming from the Athletic. We then got a separate piece of news coming from Chris Wheeler, who said United are ready to abandon the plans to keep Old Trafford if they build the new stadium, because the plan was previously to keep Old Trafford around, reduce it to a 30,000 capacity, and host academy and women's fixtures there. But apparently it's going to be too complex, and it's most likely not going to work. So they are now leaning towards maybe abandoning that aspect completely, which is going to, I know the discussion going around, it's gonna infuriate some people, it's gonna sadden some people. I don't want to see Old Trafford abandoned. I don't want to see it ripped down. I would like for it to, even if we don't use it, I would like for it to still be there. I would like for it to be a place that people can still go to and still see, and have it still standing. But, sometimes we don't get everything we want in life, and life's not fair. So let's see what happens. It is just a rumor for now, but no, nothing has been officially said, but we will see. These were the comments by Gary Neville, as I just went over, giving his 2 cents about it. and he's not one of these overly emotional people that he's saying about the stadium. I guess he's talking about us, the fans, because we are heavily invested in this and we do care a lot. This is a big issue inside of the fan base, and I believe rightfully so. Some things are sentimental, you know what I mean, and you can't put a price on those things. So um and I think he does get the issue right, though, on the fact that, if we do abandon Old Trafford, if it does become non existent, if it does cease to exist, I think that, the statues, the Munich clock, certain aspects must be carried over, um, to the new stadium. They can't just be completely forgotten about. Those things are ingrained throughout the history and the DNA of Manchester United, of the football club, and they need to be, they need to be carried over. So I agree with that aspect. The location for me, I mean, I don't really have a say too much on this because I'm not from the area. I would assume, people that live in the Manchester area, they care a lot more about this. I can't really say, I don't live in the area. I'm not, from around the area, so I can't really say. It doesn't bother me too much per se, I guess, on the location. But it's not really for me to say because I don't live in that area. I think that's more for the people in the area. They're really gonna, have more of a 2 cents on that. It doesn't really bother me too much as long as they do it right. And I guess as long as it doesn't like destroy people's lives, I guess, in the surrounding area, or something like that, you know what I mean? Or it makes it difficult for certain people to get to the matches, or stuff like that. Um, you know. Axe is asking, can they just rebuild and extend the three parts of the stadium? I mean, accepting the stand that is near the railway. I believe they can, but I don't know to what extent. And there's a little bit more news, so let's get to that, and then we'll have like a full discussion. So there's about two more updates that came. The other piece was, so this is official. So this is one of the only official things that we got. World-renowned global architecture studio Forster and Partners is set to be appointed by Manchester United to develop a master plan for the Old Trafford Stadium district, covering the club-owned land that surrounds the existing stadium. Now, I'm not familiar with this architecture studio. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research. I didn't have time to do it before the show, unfortunately. But yeah, so they are going to be leading, basically the project of developing, the plan, for what is going to happen with Old Trafford Stadium and, the surrounding land, and the existing stadium. So, do your research if you want independently. You can look them up. You can see, projects that they've done, what they're about, and stuff. I'll be doing that as well in my own time. And then the follow up to that was the focus will be to design a world class football destination at home for Manchester United fans, coupled with a wider master plan comprising, of mixed use developments which will benefit the local community, attract new residents, increase job provision, and make it a vibrant destination for visitors from Manchester, the UK, and all around the world. The exercise will include substantial engagement with fans, community members, local authorities, and the Old Trafford Regeneration Task Force, whose feedback and insights will be incorporated into the master plan. So I think, while you might be upset, or people might be upset about, this stuff about Old Trafford and what's happening, I think this is at least an encouraging positive, aspect that we can take into. I think this is absolutely the correct decision if you're going to go down the path that we're already talking about. The local community, again, I'm not from there. I don't live there. I don't have too much of a say, but I do understand the importance of that and what it means to the people that live in the area of Manchester. And I agree 100% that they should rightfully be, involved in this, and they should be heard, and their voice should have a good amount of weight to it. Um, because there's a lot of people that live in that area, and it's going to impact their daily lives. But I think there's the positives of, it's going to create jobs, so that's good for the people that live in and around that area as well. um and it's going to bring money in to the surrounding area, and it should, bring it a little bit back to life, because from what I've heard, it's a little bit, it's been a little bit on the dying end. And I think as Manchester United Football Club, we can't be having that. We should have the best of the best always, and everybody and everything that is involved with Manchester United should be great. It should be the best thing in the world. So, I think it's a good thing. And hopefully, they are heavily listened to and taken seriously in their consideration. That was the last update that we really got from this. There hasn't really been anything else other than that, so we're gonna just have to wait and see on this. Axe saying, definitely the local community has to give a huge influence on whatever will happen concerning the stadium. It's their local area, all in all. Yeah, 100%. And um and you want to make it a place. I think one of the important aspects of this is that, like they described, you want to make it a vibrant destination for visitors, all over the place. You want something that the local community is going to be proud of, that they're going to love. But also because, Manchester United is a global club, and there's people that come all over the world every single week. Match days and non-match days to visit the area, to visit Manchester United Football Club and Old Trafford and stuff like that. And I think when people come there, I want them to be impressed. I want them to be in awe. I want them to be, just happy about the location, and what we have, and what we can do, or what we can show. I This is a little bit off topic, but the only way I could kind of relate to it a little bit is I live in New York. Now I don't live in the city, but I do work in New York City, and I live outside of the city. And for me, a lot of people from outside of the country or whatever, there's a lot of tourists that come to New York City. They come to see the attractions, the Statue of Liberty and whatnot. And as a person that lives here, I kind of am, like, almost embarrassed by, the way the city looks. There's a lot of garbage. It's not the cleanest. There's a lot of problems and issues in the area, and these people come with a certain perception about New York and New York City, because all they hear is how great it is. You know what I mean? And when they get there, I almost feel embarrassed for them. Like, there's certain aspects that it's not nice. It's not nice to see. It's not nice to experience. And, it kind of disappoints me, because I grew up always believing that, I live in one of the best places in the world. And to see what it is in the current state, I am embarrassed for them, because it's just, there's so many aspects that aren't clean. It's not nice. It's and it could be much better, and I know it could. So that's the only kind of way that I could relate to it, is that when people go there, like, I want them to see just greatness everywhere, or the surrounding area and all that. So and like Axe said, he's visited the current stadium once, and it's a nice experience. I have yet to go. And I, with this news coming up, I think I'm going to try to go, because it might not be there anymore. And I do, it's one of my it's one of my it's one of my dreams. One of my I want to go there. I want to experience it. So if it's not going to be there anymore, stadium means a lot to me. So sorry, I'm getting a little teary. um yeah, it's just that stadium means a lot. So if it's not going to be there, give me a second. Sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah, it means a lot to me, and it would suck if, I don't get to see it, cuz I've always wanted to see it. And some of us don't have the opportunity to do so. So, you know, not everybody could do it. And that's why I always have a lot of respect for the the people that do make it there, and it can go there, and that's why I always try to back the the international fans, because there are, even though it is a small minority, there is still some hate that exists for people that are not from the area, and they don't understand that we would love to go there, and we would love to be a part of that. We just happen to live in another part of the world, and not everybody can afford to go there. Not everybody has the time, so I think yeah, I think I would love to go there. Axe saying, I've heard there are many problems in New York, including the fact that they try to hide the homeless problem, among others. Well, there is, and that's what it makes it sad. Axe, it really does. It makes it sad because I work there. I experience it. Um, Traveling around the city a lot. I always have to go from location to location. Um, often, and there's just so many aspects, and I see a lot of tourists there, and they enjoy their time, and they seem to not really, they seem to not really be bothered too much by it, because they're more in awe of the structures of the buildings, and they have a lot of places to go to. But still, I mean, even people from my family that live in Malta that came here, I was highly embarrassed. Like, I felt highly embarrassed when they came here, because I was like, they're gonna experience all the ugly parts too, and I was like, I was like, and all they hear is like, how great it is or whatever. Um, so yeah, and he said, I tell you, as someone from Eastern Europe, New York City is the pinnacle of the American dream. I mean, I know that the American dream is a fantasy, but many people here wish to visit New York City. Exactly, and I can. That's how I kind of relate to it, to Old Trafford. I mean, it is the pinnacle of Manchester, and football, to a large extent. I mean, it's a historic stadium for an historic club, and one of the biggest clubs in the world, and it means a lot to a lot of people. And there's going to be many people around the world, if the stadium no longer exists, that they never got the chance to see it, they never got the chance to experience it, and that is sad. But at the same time, if we are gonna go to do something new, I want it to be something that everybody is going to be happy with. I mean, you can't please everybody, but the majority of people, and something that we can be proud of, and for the local people, they need to be happy as well, because they live there and it's their everyday life. So um yeah, but we do have we'll move on to the next segment, because that's about all the updates we got on that. So we got to just keep an eye on it, see how things develop, and we'll talk about it as the news comes along, in that aspect. But we do have injury updates, and we have Eric Ten Hag making some comments, and players coming back. So there are some positives as we look ahead to tomorrow's match against Crystal Palace, which is going to be a tough match. Um, Line saying Foster and Partners redesigned the Apple Fifth Avenue and the 425 Park Avenue. Did they really? All right. I should probably know that. Uh, but I don't. But thank you, Lines, for that. And that's interesting, because they're actually, the designs are, because I know about Apple Fifth Ave and 425 Park Avenue. I've actually been over there. So, and I've actually seen them. And I've been in buildings. I've worked in buildings, because I do work construction. So I've been in buildings in and around that area. And actually the designs are very nice. Um, and I've worked close to four. I don't think I've ever been exactly in 425 Park Avenue, but I've definitely worked right near that location. So those those designs are actually very nice. So that's actually pretty encouraging. If that's the types of jobs they do, and Wembley. All right, that's good because Wembley. I think they did a good. I think they did a good job on Wembley. So very very positive. Stuff and here. Yeah, I do. I do. I work construction. I'm a carpenter. So I work. I do the insides. I see how the building comes along and finishes. So yeah, it's good. It's hard work. Some days harder than others, but you do what you got to do. Um, but let's move on to the injury updates. So Ten Hag did his press conference the other day. I missed it. I thought it would be the day before the match. And I think we're supposed to get more probably in a little bit. They do release the second part usually later on, if we didn't get it already. But Ten Hag was speaking on Rasmus and Mason Mount because, as we spoke about last time, they returned to they were training, but they weren't ready for the match. And Ten Hag saying, it's very good news that they're both back in the pitch. So they're doing team training. They're back in team training. We have to decide whether they are fit enough to start on Saturday, but it's very pleasing they are fit and back in the squad. So very good and very encouraging news because we might be seeing Rasmus Hojlund and Mason Mount, which is very important. We need all the players as fit as possible. Ten Hag then continued on to say, we have so many games in this block to cover, so we're very happy. We have to make the final call about Hojlund and Mount. They did a couple of training. We have to see how they recover, and tomorrow they will make the final call. So very very good. Yeah, it is hard work, and it's not easy. A lot of the people you work with are very rough. So it's not it's not an office environment where it's a lot of you know pr- proper conduct. So sometimes you have good job locations, sometimes you have bad job locations. It is what it is. Everything in life can't be all rainbows and roses all the time. Um, but Ten Hag also had some other things that we're going to get into after. But to follow up on the injury updates, we did say last time that sorry, not Mason Mount, Lindelof was back or set to come back, and this is just him. This is a small update. We didn't really get an update on if he's going to be a part of the squad tomorrow, but he is back in full training, so he might be included in the squad as well, which is good because the more people we have, the better. Lenny Yoro is going to be back eventually. He's not quite ready yet. You know what I mean? So, you know, Lindelof and his wife for the win. Axe loves Lindelof's wife and Lindelof himself as well. But yeah, it's good that he's gonna be back. We'll take everybody, and everybody. You know what I mean? And here's the biggest one for me because this guy has been MIA. We've been worrying about him for very, very long. We've been questioning, really what's been going on with him. And Terrell Malacia has participated in the warm up of the group session today. He took part in the rondos before moving on to an individual session. So he's not quite there yet, but he is getting much, much closer to coming back. So we are that much closer to getting at least one of our left backs back. There wasn't a great update on Luke Shaw, but that he is close to his return as well. So we might almost have, um, you know, everybody back very, very soon, barring Euro, because I think Euro is going to take a little bit more time. There was an update on Euro. I forgot exactly when they said he was supposed to come back. I'll try and find it in a little bit. But then Ten Hag went to speak on, managing the injuries. And Ten Hag was saying, careful and top football, you always go to boundaries. It's not avoidable, but when you have a full squad available, then it's easier to manage the load when you are in circumstances like last season and there is a need to play. We have to overload them. We hope we can integrate them in a very careful way. And I think that kind of pertains to what we're kind of seeing this season compared to last season, because last season we were kind of a little desperate to get players back. I think we were rushing players back a little bit, which kind of led to re-injuries a lot. It happened to Martinez, it happened to Mount a couple times. It happened to Shaw, and it happened to Malacia as well. Now, obviously, there was other implications that happened in there, but I think right now what we're seeing is that we're not really trying to rush players back. We're just taking it as it is. And if they're ready, or we have to take a little bit more time to make sure that they come out on the better end of those injuries, then we are doing that. Because that was one of the updates that I do remember that they said about Lenny Yoro, is that he might take a little bit longer than what was originally stated for him to come back, because they are not rushing him to come back. They would rather let him take a little bit longer, couple extra weeks maybe, so that, there isn't no reoccurring injury to him, which I think is, obviously it's the right move, but I'm just happy about it because we need to get a stamp on this injury problem that we've been having for a long time. It's been happening before Ten Hag, uh, you know, and it hurts us. It hurts us, and we need all available options always. I mean, the best availability, or the best player is a fit player, and when we have so many injuries, it really detriments the squad. I mean, we've seen that firsthand, and not just for us, but even other clubs. Brighton had one. And they suffered in the league position. Liverpool had one a couple seasons ago. They suffered as well in their season. So, you know, I think if we're moving in the right direction and stamping this injury problems out, I'm very very happy about that. And let's see what happens. I'm excited for Rasmus Hojlund to come back. I hope that he is fit enough to participate tomorrow. So I think yeah, I think he's gonna add something, a little bit to, if it's not working for Xerxes on the pitch, Hoyland adds a little bit something different, and it's just a great option to have on the bench if we need it. And Lions saying, when Shaw and Malacia come, I wonder what happens to Delo. And that's a very good thing to point out there, is that because we didn't really have this problem last season per se, because Delo was just performing way better than Wan-Bissaka, and then also we didn't have a left back for like the whole season, so basically both of them were playing anyway. But if it ever came to the point, majority of the people were picking Delo ahead of Wan-Bissaka. But now we have Mazawari, and Mazawari is been playing very well since he's started this season, and Delo plays well as well. And it's gonna be a headache for Ten Hag. It's a good headache to have, but it's a difficult decision because I think Maz is playing very well. And I don't even know necessarily who to pick at this point at right back, because I do like Delo. I like Delo very, very much. I think he plays well always, and I just like his mentality, his attitude. And he's been very, very solid for us over the past like year and a half or so. But Maz plays very good as well, and he's come into the team, and he's making an argument for himself as well. I know he probably needs a little bit more on the fitness aspect, because he was getting subbed off, and minutes managed and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know who I would pick. That's one of the more difficult ones. I would probably have to sit down and really think about it. And at this moment in time, I'm very, very unsure, and that's not usually me. I usually have a ready set opinion on things of who should be playing and who should be starting. So, and Lions, pointing out that he wouldn't leave Mazawari out. So, Axe saying it will be better because they will be able to rotate more. It will be better. That's exactly what we need because we need the rotation. And not having a left back is absolutely killing us at the moment. Because it's just Maz and Delo playing, and there's no backups to either one of them. So they're gonna have to, they've been playing full 90 minutes, and if they can't, we've already seen what happens if we have to sub one of them out. Johnny Evans or Lisandro Martinez ends up at left back, and the other one has to stay on, or we do something crazy. I mean, Collier wasn't for that reason. Collier was to invert, but yeah, it just it helps out the squad. This is why the injury thing is so, the more options we have, the better position we are always. So we need to, make sure that when they come back, Shaw and Malacia, that we don't overdo it. I would even if they come back, minutes managed, I still try and play Mazawari and Delo for, in Delo with left back, Maz at right back for a little while until they are really fully there, ready to go, ready to play 90 minutes, because we don't want Shaw and Malacia to get re-injured, especially Shaw, because we know Shaw has injury problems, and we know Shaw is probably the most likely one out of all of them to get injured. So we really need to make sure that Luke Shaw stays fit somehow, some way. I don't know if it's possible. Maybe it's just something that's inevitable. It seems most likely it is inevitable. When you look at his injury record, he always misses games in a season. He's never completed a season, so we got to see what happens on that front. And Lions saying Shaw for me always starts at left back if fit. Yeah, I mean, I think Shaw, like, we've always said, and I've always said, when Shaw is fit, he is one of the best left backs, and he's greatly important to our squad. It's just, that he constantly gets injured, which is not good for the squad dynamic at all. And it's not good for him either. So, and it seems like we finally have a squad. It's a nice turn of events. Well, this isn't really an update, but just like a little overview that somebody tweeted out that I, thought was good to just mention, which you already got to, Lions, pretty much. And, Mount and Hojlund back yesterday. Malacia and Lindelof back today. Shaw should be back soon. Euro back, there you go. Euro back just before/after the next international break, which somebody has to tell me when that is, because I don't know exactly. Is it in October or November? And then they point out the point that we might actually have a fully fit squad next month, which is something we haven't really been able to say for quite some time now. So I'm super excited about that, because I want all the players to be fit, and I want all the players to be involved. We need them. It's super important. We can't succeed in any aspect if we are struggling with injuries. So if we can get a cap on that, it's a very positive thing, and it could just be another thing that we tack on to that's bring a little bit of positivity surrounding Manchester United in that aspect. So yeah, Lions forgot about Euro. Yeah, it's I mean, I forgot about Malacia for a certain point, because he was just, we didn't get an update on him for so long, and you don't see him, and you don't hear any news about him because they're in the background doing their work, trying to get fit and stuff like that. So, and I have forgotten about Euro a little bit here and there, because, if it's not for the news updating him, we don't see him really. And he's just doing his work, trying to get back fit. So, Axe saying I have this impression. I don't know if it's correct or not, but I believe that every time Shaw is at his pick in terms of performance, he gets injured. He is one of the best, because I tend to remember his good matches followed by his injuries. Yeah, I think it's because I think to that point, Axe, I think it's because, number one, he's probably more rested, right? Because he's doing individual training, but he's not, the workload on him is not overwhelming. I mean, the workload on players nowadays is very high. It's a lot of matches. You got to do training, and they're playing a shit ton of matches. So I think when he comes back from his injuries, he's always like that because he's fresh, he's ready to go. And he hasn't been killing himself. He's just been getting himself to a point where he's able to play and he's fit again. And then I think the problem, what happens is he gets into the flow because, he does play a lot, and then he ends up getting re-injured because the workload becomes way too heavy for him, and he suffers an injury because he is injury prone, unfortunately. I could kind of attest to that just slightly. I mean, it's not the same level, but when I used to play, on one of the teams I used to play, the coach was obsessed with fitness, obsessed. I mean, we had training sessions that we didn't even use the ball in training sessions. We didn't even do, drills with the ball. There would be training sessions where it was just running. It was just running miles, running laps, sprints, and we used to do training 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what they wanted to do. And I remember, I don't have, I wasn't the fastest. I'm quick in short bursts, but I'm not the fastest. I didn't have the greatest of stamina. And I just remember that, there would be weeks where we go to play Sunday league, right? Because this was Sunday league. We go to play on a Sunday, and I am absolutely exhausted from the running, from the training, because we were doing ridiculous amounts of sprinting and running in training. It was, probably double, triple the amount you do in a match. And what happened is there was a week where I was sick, and I didn't go to any of the training. And when we went to go play the match, I was able to play because I got better by the end of the week. So I go in there, and I started on the bench, obviously, because I wasn't in training. And he puts me in as a sub, and I'm flying around the pitch, sprinting, just going crazy. And he actually got so pissed at me, he pulled me off within 5 minutes of me being on, just so he can yell at me, because he was like, "Why don't you do this all the time when you're on the pitch?" And I looked at him and it's not like I don't do it because I don't want to. It's like because it's like because I feel really fresh right now. Like I feel good. Like I feel like I have a lot of energy. I usually I get to the match and I'm like, I run out of energy very quickly. And I was like, I told him, I was like, "You overwork us in training." And he didn't like that response. He told me to go sit back on the bench, and then he put me back in later on. But yeah, it was just like something like that. Like, I felt very fresh after that. So, um, yeah, Lion says, "I think the ankle break against PSV really fucked him up." No, it did. It did. I mean, it's a bad injury. It's a very bad injury. And you don't want to, especially if the ankle is a very sensitive place, especially for footballers. I mean, you're getting tackled there. You get stepped on. And it's not the strongest. It's not the strongest part on your body. So it is very it's one of the weaker areas. So, once you kind of destroy that part, it's like very unlike, you have to have probably good genetics, and that's like a shot 1 in a million or something for that thing to fully heal. And then you're talking about almost the impossible of making it. There are stories out there where people suffer some crazy nasty injuries, and they rebuild themselves and make it stronger, but it takes a lot of work and a little bit of luck, and some things that are probably out of your control, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, that definitely that definitely messed him up for sure, which is unfortunate. But at least he's still able to kind of play, and it didn't, he didn't suffer like a situation like Owen Hargreaves, or even Phil Jones, because Phil Jones was just like, the guy got injured, walking to his bathroom every day. So, you know, line saying my old coach would always say, the man without the ball is more important than the man with the ball. So we also needed to do lots of running and shit. Days without the ball. Yeah. No, listen, I mean it is important and I get it, but like this guy, his training was all focused on, it was always fitness, always. And like I remember there was one day I was hanging out with my friend, because this was when I was young. I was like 14 at the time or something like that. And I'm hanging out with my friend, and I forgot that I had training that day. So my mother called me, and she's like, "You have to go to training in about an hour. Where are you?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" Well, I was like, I'm at my friend's house." So I just happened to eat chicken nuggets, right, for lunch at his house, and I go home, change real quick. We drive to the training, and I get to training. He literally goes, "All right, we're doing runs today." Immediately, right off the bat, we didn't even we didn't even start the stretch yet. He's like, and we're doing timed runs. So it was a big track around the pitch, right? And we had to run. We had to do 4 laps, which is about a mile. And we had to do it in under 7 minutes. If you didn't do it in under 7 minutes, you had to do another 4 laps, so another mile, and then you would have to do it in under 8 minutes. So I'm running like about 2 laps in, and when you pass him, right? When you pass him, he tells you the time. So about the second lap in, I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking make it in under 7. So I start pushing myself really hard, because in my head I'm like, if I can't make it in under 7 the first time, I'm not gonna make it in under 8. And this guy's crazy. He's gonna make me do it again and try to run in under 9, and I'm gonna die. So I really like started pushing myself like to the max, like as hard as I could. But I was to the point where I almost died. And I get to the final lap, and I'm like, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. And at the same time, my stomach was on fire. Was on fire because I didn't digest my food properly. So I get there, I finish, right? He goes, you didn't make it in under 7. As soon as he told me that, I looked at him and I threw up all over the track. I threw up all over the track, but my stomach was on fire. And I'm like, I just look at him like all messed up and like delirious and stuff. And he looks at me and he goes, you don't have to run the next one. He was like, sit down and drink some water. And I was like, thank God. I was like, because if you made me do it again, I was like, for sure I was not going to survive. I was like, I mean, and that was the worst thing ever. Like, I was like, those chicken nuggets really messed me up. I didn't get to digest it properly. Nice way of saying you are in pain for me. Yeah, no, it was bad. It was bad. I'll never forget that. That was one of those things, because I didn't even know that was actually going to happen to me. I felt all right. You know what I mean? I didn't feel bad. Like, I didn't feel bloated or anything. When I got there, I thought enough time passed, but I guess because I pushed myself so hard sprinting, yeah, it didn't sit well in my stomach. So that was that was something I'll never forget, because that was the only time that's ever happened to me. But it was a mess. It was a disaster. So yeah. Sounds like we had the same coach, man. I mean, we could have, but yeah. Uh, I'm sure there's a ton of them out there, but you know, um, let's go on to the next couple things, and then we'll kind of go back and freestyle a little bit, and we'll check to see if we got any news while we went live, because there usually is something. So, Ten Hag had a couple other comments, but basically what I want to talk about is he spoke about Marcus Rashford, and he spoke about Anthony, and then he spoke about team selection. So first we'll talk about what he said about Marcus Rashford. I am not saying Rashford has resurged here, but this is how they quoted it. So We'll say this. Before that, Ray saying, I hope when we get everyone fit, the first 11 be picked by performance, not play players out of position to accommodate other players. Well, I'm glad you said that, Ray, because actually Ten Hag kind of made some comments that go with your comment there. So we'll get into that discussion when we get there. In the next couple slides. So Ten Hag talking about Rashford, saying it's very good, of course, that your strikers, they are starting to score when the season is very young or early. The English Dutch connection there. Strikers, they need that belief, and we have a couple of players who are in the meanwhile on the scoring list, and it is very good as a team, because that will strengthen their belief, and they will come up for more, and they will score more goals now. So Ten Hag, just saying he's very happy with Marcus Rashford scoring goals in his past two matches. I'm very happy. I think the majority of the fan base is very happy, because we want to see Marcus Rashford doing good. We want to see Marcus Rashford scoring goals. So I think that's it. But as he alluded to as well, he's not the only one. I mean, Garnacho scoring, Diallo is doing his things too. He probably needs a little bit more goals. I mean, somebody like Anthony, while he did score a penalty, for his struggles, I think very important and very good, and happy for him that he was able to get on the score sheet and convert a penalty, because he could have missed, like a certain player that we're not going to mention, that's no longer part of the club, that missed for us in the Carabao. I mean, not the Carabao, the Community Shield penalty shootout. Um, just because it's a penalty doesn't mean you scored, even though they should. But we've seen them miss before, so it is good that he got there. Even Xerxes scored on his first match, and he got a couple more chances. He should probably have a couple more goals to his name right now, but he is new and he is still trying to find his feet. And from what I've seen from him so far, he is showing confidence in that, and he is taking very good shots. So I think it's only a matter of time for him. And I think the one player we're kind of missing from is Bruno Fernandes, because he usually adds to the goal tally as well. He's been a little bit off. His shots have been off, and his decisions to shoot hasn't been great. But we've seen this from Bruno before as well, that he does this, but then he will find his way eventually. So I think I think Ten Hag, what he's saying there, that it strengthens their belief, and that more will come. Absolutely. We spoke about this last match. They have to have the confidence, and whatever can build confidence, uh, is very very important, because they have to believe in themselves. And I think there's many many examples out there, especially last season, where you've seen it in the players, and even a couple players, to start this season. Rashford was one of them, and I think Anthony is kind of in that category as well, that they've been doubting themselves. They've been in a rut. The confidence is low, and it hurts their performance. And when they start feeling themselves a little bit, when they start believing in themselves a little bit more, then you see their game improve. You have to have confidence as a player. You can't be on the pitch scared, and you can't be on the pitch doubting yourself, because that's when bad things happen. That's when bad performances happen. And so the more confidence these players can get from wherever they get it, I don't care. I don't care where they get it from. If they get it, I will be absolutely through the roof happy, because for me, I believe it's a very very important aspect of football. One thing is ability, but the other thing is the mentality. And they go hand in hand for me. So, um, was that the same coach as the one who told you to pass the ball near the corner and then just cross? No, that was, so the one that told me to do that. That was my high school coach. That was for the school team. The other one was for the Sunday league. So, yeah, the high school coach, he wasn't really a football guy. He was more of a lacrosse guy. He kind of dabbled in football, and there was nobody really else there to take it in, so he was the manager. But yeah, two very very different things. Richard is here. Richard, glad you could join us. Saying sorry, Eric. We eventually got Tubi, and I was drinking Guinness and watching Tombstone. That's all right, Richard. Don't worry about it. You're allowed to do whatever you want, Richard. You're always here, and you're always supporting. So if you're not here one day or whatever, it's fine. It's fine. We have other people here too, so it's okay. You're allowed to do what you want. Enjoy your life, Richard. Axe saying when he missed that penalty, God, thank God, John Terry fucked it up. Shit, wrong player. Yeah, those are two separate times. Axe. But yeah, good for John Terry as well. Whatever happens tomorrow, I know confidence, self trust, and encouragement are elements that they need for sure. Hopefully, it will help them build resilience. Well, I think, yeah, to that point, just from what you said there, Axe, it put a thought into my head. If we look back at Erik ten Hag's first season, I think whatever he was able to tell them and whatever he was able to get them to believe in, where it was like the team philosophy, but also themselves, the confidence was there. The confidence was through the roof in a lot of the players and in the squad as a whole. Somewhere along the line, bad result, bad performance. The one to Liverpool 7-7, whatever it was, 7-0 or whatever. That one was obviously bad. But there was a couple things that happened that I think just kind of crushed that. And we've been struggling to come back from that, to get back to that level. We haven't hit that level of confidence since we had it, since we kind of peaked, and it's gone down. And I think if we can find a way to get ourselves back there, I think we are going to look very, very good. Plus, keep the players injury free. If you combine those three aspects, I think the football will be better. I think the results are going to be way, way better than what we've seen recently. And even the style of play, all of it. I think it's all intertwined together. And you need all aspects. You can't have 2 out of the 3. You need everything to be firing on all cylinders. And we've been missing those in certain areas, and we've been struggling to find our way back in there. So I'm hoping tomorrow, even if the match is a bit scrappy, even if it's not the greatest performance you ever see Manchester United, even though I do expect there's going to be moments in the match where we're going to be absolutely frustrated by stuff that's going on in the pitch, if we can get 3 points, if we can win the match, put in good displays in areas of the pitch, I'm going to take it because that's going to build even more confidence. Somebody, I hope Marcus Rashford scores a goal because it's just going to make him better. It's just going to put the confidence even more up, and it's going to build on to the next one. The squad's going to be more confident about themselves. If we can keep a clean sheet, even better. We don't have to totally dominate the match for 90 minutes as of right now. We got to take baby steps. We have to take baby steps. So, and I think the past 2 matches we've done so. There was a lot of talk like, yeah, we played Barnsley, but like I said and like I mentioned already, it was a confidence booster. It was important that we did what we did. We scored a lot of goals. We could have won the match 2 or 3. We scored 7. And it was a very good display. So, the only thing they can't do is go into Crystal Palace and, start slow. I think that's something that I want to see from them. I want to see them start the game on being on top of their game, because we start very slow and sometimes it goes very backwards for us when we do that, because then we struggle even more to get into the game. The other team grows confidence, and then we really, we end up in a situation where we don't really get into the game. So my number one thing probably would be, and my message to them would be, we need to start and finish this game the strongest you can possibly do so. The strongest you can possibly do so. We need to start the match on top of our game because we haven't done it yet, and we need to do it. So, um, Lion saying, but with Anthony, I believe he knows he's overachieved. You think so? Because I don't think he has that mentality, Axe. I just think that he's very. I just think that he's just in a bad place right now. I mean, I'm not saying that he shouldn't be, but the fans aren't really on his side. Obviously, the outsiders, like non Manchester United fans, the media or whatever, they're completely against him. He's getting criticized heavily. He's also hasn't been performing that great, and he's lost his spot and whatever has been going on in the background with Eric Ten Hag. So he's not in a happy place. He's not in a good place. He's not really in a positive place, which is probably making him struggle even more. But from the way Anthony speaks, and the way he seems to carry himself, I don't think that that's necessarily in his mind. I don't think that he thinks he's overachieved. I think he's actually looking at it like he's underachieved, that he can do way more. I think that he knows somewhat to a certain extent that he hasn't been doing good and it's not good enough and that he has to do better. And that he's trying to do better, but I think he fully believes that he you know, is not overachieving, right? Like has overachieved. I think he feels like he has way more to offer and that he can do way better than what we're seeing. And I hope that he's right and that we're wrong because that's the greatest story that we can have. We if Anthony starts scoring goals or getting assists and he catches on fire or gets some type of form, that's the best possible solution for the entire club. The fans will cheer him on. The fans can be proud of him. He gives something for the fans to actually back. And then he'll feel a lot better about himself and his situation, and which I believe will probably lead to better performances from himself. I mean, when I watched him against Barnsley, he really did look like a player that is lacking in a lot of confidence and belief in himself, even though his talk is in that way, but that talk needs to translate onto the pitch and the actions he takes on the pitch. And there was certain moments in that match that he just is, you can tell he's self-doubting himself when he gets the ball. Like it seems like in his head already, like he already knows, like, I can't take this guy on because I'm gonna lose the ball. He's gonna win the ball from me. I'm gonna lose it and it's gonna be bad and I'm gonna get criticized for it. So he's like not doing it as much. But the thing is, when you don't do it as much, then you're less likely to succeed because the more you do it, the more opportunities you have to win the battle of that match. And when you do it far lesser times, you're giving yourself less of a chance to succeed because, if you do it 15 times in a match, you can win maybe the majority. If you do it 6 times in a match, well, you're doing it less times. And then what are the odds that you're going to beat them majority 4 out of 6 times? It's not as much. So, I like compare him to Garnacho. Garnacho is fearless. And he's a kid, and kids tend to be mostly fearless when they go on the pitch. I mean, not all of them, but there is a lot that they just go on there and they play their game, and they do very, very well because they're not too worried about other things. They just there, they want to have a good performance, and they probably get that adrenaline rush as well that helps them, because they're sort of new to the scene. But Garnacho is fearless when he comes on, and it shows in his ability when he plays, and he makes and things happen when he touches the ball because of his fearlessness and his attitude, and just that he's confident of himself and his abilities. Does he beat every single defender? Does he win every duel every time he gets the ball? Absolutely not. He loses the ball a bunch of times throughout all the matches he plays. But that it doesn't stop him. It doesn't make him uh, afraid to try it again when the opportunity is right. but then he's also smart enough to pick and choose. Sometimes he tries to drive into the box. He does it 3 or 4 times. It doesn't really work. He tries to do something else. And then that ends up working out better for us on the pitch in that situation than what he was continuing to doing. And he does that a couple times. Then he goes back to trying to beat the defender again. And then he actually gets it and something comes from it. So, we need these players to get this confidence, for sure. Chat is saying, exactly, where I lost my place. Richard saying, I think we will win tomorrow, but I definitely want a win on Wednesday night. Oh, we have to get the win on Wednesday night. We need to start the Europa League campaign strong. The European campaign, we need absolutely those 3 points. And I forgot who we're playing. If you guys want to remind me, because I forgot the fixture list. I forget a lot of things. I try to remember a lot of things, but I do forget a lot of things. So, but that's why I have you guys here, because you're so lovely and you help me out. And Richard continued to say, I want us to get off to a good win in this Europa League campaign. Yeah, 100%. No, the win is a must win. We need to start. We need to start strong. We can't have that aspect and that negativity creep back in. If we don't get that win, it's gonna do damage to everything we just spoke about, confidence and the positivity that's kind of brewing and bubbling right now around Manchester United and the squad and the players and all that. So, the media is gonna come out and hit on us. They're gonna go after Ten Hag. We don't need any of that. We don't need any of that bullshit, because that's a bunch of bullshit. We don't. We are getting into a part of the season very early on in the season, but a lot of matches are coming and we have a big job and a big task and we have a big fight. This is going to be a long season and we don't need that extra bullshit. We need our team focused and performing. And the more they can do that, the more they can shut up these idiots that just, live to talk crap about Manchester United and everybody involved in the club. So we can silence them and we can focus more on winning matches and performing. So we need to win. We need to win. 100%. Ray saying Eric Ten Hag has to start subbing early, second half, not 85 minutes. Yeah. I mean, I expect that to come, Ray, probably a little bit later on. Right now it seems like my guess on why he's doing that is because, when you listen to him, he does speak about patterns and routines a lot, and I think he's just trying to get them to kind of play a lot of minutes together. So that means that he's, for the main starting 11, and that means that the subs are going to come later on. But if we're in a situation in a match where shit isn't working and things aren't going well and we're not playing well, then I think he kind of has to deviate that from a little bit, because he's got to make a change to influence the game and tip it into our favor. And he can't just stick with the players that are on the pitch that the shit is not working just because he's trying to get them to really gel and have as many minutes playing together as possible for like the overall project of the season. But I think as we go a little bit further down, I think we'll probably see him go back, because he does do this a lot. I mean, there's times, he's been criticized times for not making subs or making subs late, and then he makes subs normal times, and then there was a couple times where he made subs like surprisingly very early. He seems to switch it around a lot, and he probably has his reasons. I think one of the reasons was what I just mentioned, is that right now he's trying to get the squad to just, he wants them in their routine. To get them in their routine, they have to play as many minutes together as possible, obviously without overworking them. But we are behind, in terms of that aspect. So I think he's trying to get that aspect sorted out. And then, we'll see more normal substitutions probably later on. I would expect that. I would be very surprised if he continues the rest of the season making very late substitutions. And, obviously the fans aren't going to be happy about that either. They're going to get on his back about it eventually too, especially if it costs us points. Yeah, so I don't expect him to continue with that trend for a long time, but in the immediate future, yeah, for sure. I think right now I think that's kind of the path he's going down. Whether you agree with that or not is a different aspect. I mean, I can understand why he's doing it. I don't necessarily know, if it's something that is going to pay off, but I would hope it does. I hope he's correct about that approach that he's seems to be doing. Um Axe saying something we also start strong and lose the momentum. But yeah, you're right. I hope they scored the first goal. Yeah, that's another thing that we can't really do. We see, but you know what that is though. I think that's kind of the game plan a little bit. But they have to like get into that mentality of like, okay, we started strong, right? And if you say we start strong, we score a goal. They kind of like take their foot off of the gas pedal a little bit because they try to control the match. They really try to, hold more of the ball, hold more of the possession, not give it away as much, which means that we're like less risk taking, which means we're not really attacking as much, and then we fans we get frustrated by it because we're like, they're falling off in their performance. Like they started very strong and now they just kind of seem like a passenger. And I think they have to kind of the players need to wrap around their head when they're in the match, when they're on the pitch. Like they have to keep the mentality of like, okay, we're playing good. We're in the lead. We've taken the lead. We don't have to do stupid things. We're in control of the game, but also we still have to keep the aspect of being threatening. And again, it has to come with the balances. We have to find the right balances, and I think that is a big mess in a lot of different aspects that we are not sorted out right now. Is that they sometimes don't seem to find the balance in the match between keeping possession of the ball and trying to control the game, but then also being attacking and threatening. They seem to do one or the other a lot of times, and you know we need to get that sorted because we're not going to be very successful if we don't. So, um, Rich is saying, Eric, he is not in a bad place. He is shit for the Premiership. No, listen, I'm not saying that Anthony is a world beater or anything like that. I think he is fairly I think he's very fairly unskilled for the Premier League, but I don't think that he should be playing at least this bad. You don't have to be one of the best players, but at the moment he's at the level that he's not even usable. Like almost even as a sub. Like you gotta come on and you gotta be able to do something. Something. I don't think he's that bad. I don't. But I think right now he is because he's in probably the worst possible place he could probably be in right now. I think he could be a little bit better. I think he's below average. I think he could be at least average, at least at like the minimum at least average, if not a little bit better. Um and I try to think back, and I know it's a different era and it's a different squad and different times and stuff like that. But there was players under Fergie that they weren't great ability wise. They weren't, you know, superstars in that aspect, but they gave you something when they went on the pitch. They were very average players, but there was times where they played above their ability, and there was times where they gave you at least something positive out of their performance. I don't think we're getting from that at all because I think he's in a horrible place. But you're saying that I doubt he would make it in Bournemouth's first team, and maybe he wouldn't because again, some people or players they just don't belong in the Prem, and I agree with the argument that he seems like a player that doesn't belong in the Prem or the style doesn't fit him. His ability doesn't work with the Prem either. I, I see that very much so. I don't, I'm not saying that he's gonna come good and stay at Manchester United and be a Manchester United player. I think, this is his last season, and I would move him on. I would have moved him on in the summer if it was possible. If I was there and I was in charge and I was able to do it and we could do it, I would do it. I would have done it because I think we've seen already, enough that it's just not going to work out. But I think at the same time, he can still give us at least something. There's no way that you can be. I mean, he's probably our worst player. 100%. Even Sancho, who I didn't think was very good, but even Sancho had something probably to offer. And he was in and out of the squad, not available, gone missing, and then had the thing with Ten Hag. But even that, like even his performances were bad, but they weren't. Anthony is below that level. So, Axe saying if Anthony gets on fire, fans will make him a god just to turn on him later. I mean, yeah, that does happen, but those people are that's mostly the online. That's an online thing. You know what I mean? You see that a lot. They champion people, and then as soon as it goes bad or wrong or whatever, they rip them down. There's a lot of two face opinions out there, but at least we could bring him maybe back in a positive light. I hope you're right, Eric. Perhaps you should go out on loan to the championship so he gets to experience men footy. Won't happen, but it might be food for thought. Ten Hag's home club FC 20. 20. Garnacho has genuine talent. Anthony has what Adam Januzaj had. Anthony believes he has more talent than he actually is. Well, yeah, I think so. They do believe. The players do have that sort of ego. You kind of have to have that ego if you're a professional. You constantly have to think you're that good. Otherwise, you'll never make it there anyway. You won't even make it, anywhere close to that. So they do kind of carry themselves there. But I think what he wants is like he wants, I think he thinks that he can be like a superstar of the Prem, and I think it's fairly clearly obvious that he doesn't have the ability for that. Um, but I think at least for the remainder of the season, you know, impact sub of some sort or something like that. Like we need to get something from him. We need something from he's part of the squad. He's part of the squad and we're gonna need him. And God forbid, any of our other wingers are injured or they start playing like shit. If we can get a little bit of help from him, uh, you know, we're gonna need it. We're gonna need it, so it's important. Spanish football is much less physical. Yeah, I mean he might be better in for sure in another league. I mean obviously the Dutch league is not anywhere near the Premier League, so he was excelling there. The Premier League seems a little bit too high for him. But then again, he could probably play for maybe like a Bournemouth or something, or a much smaller team where the stakes are a lot less, and if you have shitty performances like he's been doing, or you are quite underwhelming. It kind of goes a little bit more under the radar, and you're not really looked at too much. The problem is that he's at Manchester United, and we are in a struggling situation as well. Um, Anthony can be average with sparks of brilliance. The problem is that when he transferred for that huge sum of money, we believe they bought the next CR7. Well, to that point, Axe, I think and this is something I've never understood. I've never understood this like mentality of like why people think that he was that good just because we signed him for 80 million. Most Manchester United fans know the situation that's surrounded or the circumstances that surrounded that situation. Everybody knew that he wasn't an 80 million pound player. Everybody knew we overpaid. Everybody knows that we had incompetent people running the club that overpaid for so many players that you can't even count them on two hands. So why is it that because we bought Anthony and a bunch of people put a bunch of clips of him like doing dribbles and stepovers in the Dutch league, they thought that he was going to be one of the best wingers to ever grace the Premier League? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It never makes sense to me. Like, even for Jadon Sancho, that we paid that high price and he was playing at Borussia Dortmund, I was still worried about the fact that he might not be good enough and that he is highly overhyped because he's English and he's young and there's a lot of media hype around him. I was very worried about that transfer. I was not convinced at all that he was going to be worth the 80 million. And obviously we overpaid. We overpaid, and we've overpaid for tons of players. We overpaid for Maguire. We overpaid for a shit ton of players. I think at that time, and the mentality I had was whatever player we signed, I'm not looking or paying attention to the price tag to try to compare it to their ability because I think it's nonsense. I think it just doesn't make sense. We overplay for every single player. Why are you using their price tag to try and, say how good they are? Like for me, I just don't even look at the price tag and I see what they give me on the pitch, and then I just determine if they're good enough or not. Now I think we can say it's a little bit different because I think we're doing better business and we're doing smarter business, and I think the fees are very fair, and I think we can maybe use the fees now a little bit to judge the player a little bit more. Um, to see if they actually justify a realistic price tag, like a fair price tag, not something that was, we completely overpaid because we're stupid and incompetent. Um, I think the fees that we're getting now for players under Ineos, under this first transfer window, I think if you look at them and you compare them to the players we got, I think that's a valid argument. Before, I think it's a bunch of nonsense. And I just never understood why that was a thing because, and it happens within our own fan base. Like the media and, Sky Sports News and shit like that, they do it anyway because they want clicks and, attention and interaction and stuff like that. So I get they're gonna do it regardless, because they're not gonna take the aspect of trying to help us out, right? But in our own fan base, there was tons of fans that were doing that. That they in one tweet or message or whatever on a podcast they complain about the Glazers, um, and just the CEO and spending stupid money on players, and then the next tweet they're talking about how Anthony's not an 80 million pound player and, he's shit. And it's like, well, he was never an 80 million pound player. Everybody knew that. Everybody knew what we did. We could have got him for 45 million. We're incompetent. We went to Ajax 2 days before the window. And Van de Sar and Ajax, very smartly and rightfully so, I don't blame them at all. They told them, you want the player? Give us 80. Give us 90. And we gave it to them. So, uh, Forlan was excellent though. That was a different time though. But yeah, it was a different time though. You know what I mean? There's like you're not gonna get every player correct anyway. I mean, but Fergie got loads of players wrong. As much as not as much as he got right, but he got loads of players wrong as well, and we wasted money there too. But it was nothing like what we were doing, and we're not doing anymore. But it was nothing like we were doing. What we were doing was just absolute nonsense and craziness. Anthony costs more than Sancho though. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I didn't I like I was but see when we see the thing was Sancho was very hyped in the media and even amongst the fans they were like this guy's a baller. I remember all the hype was like the Sancho hype was through the roof compared to Anthony, right? And it was coming from all aspects. And I was just very worried because I was like, listen, he's in the Bundesliga. He's playing for Dortmund. He might be performing well in the Champions League. That's one competition. The Bundesliga is a very different league to the Premier League. It's a lot more open. The defense is a lot less, existent there. And I was like, he's seen a couple players go from the Bundesliga to the Premier League and it didn't work out. And, I was just very worried about that. Anthony Um, and I saw Sancho play a couple times too, like a lot more than I seen Anthony. Anthony only got the hype after he was like, after it was like mentioned that he was coming to us. He didn't really have media hype. The hype was coming more from the fans clipping him up and saying, "Look at how good he is. Look at the skills he does. Look at the dribbling. This guy's going to be a baller, blah, blah, blah." Meanwhile, none of them actually ever watched him. All they did was clip up some good stuff from the highlights they seen on YouTube, and they pushed that out. So, but for Anthony, I already knew from the beginning because of the situation I just explained. He's not an 80 million pound player. So I wasn't expecting Anthony to be, God on the pitch. I was expecting him to probably be an average player that we might be able to develop a little bit more. I actually figured he'd probably going to struggle his first season because, coming from there and coming here, I didn't think he was going to really catch fire. But, he just he's been severely underwhelming to the point where I'm like I said, we could have got him for 40, 45. He's not even worth that right now. He's worth 20, 15 if we're lucky. I don't even know. He's performing below that. So, it's bad. It's bad. That's why I'm saying like we need him. And if you want Anthony to leave, right, and you don't think he's good enough, and you would like to see him go, we still need him to play good and or perform or give us something or just something, because it could help his transfer value at least a little bit, because we're gonna get absolutely, listen, if he has an atrocious season this season, we are going to get absolutely destroyed on that we're going to get absolutely destroyed on that on his value, and we're going to struggle to move him on as well. So we need something from him. Something has to improve. We need it. Richard saying, well, the sell on and buyback clauses from Ineos impressed me. Yeah, I mean, they are very good. They're smart. I think, I don't want to hype it up too much, Richard, because I feel like that's probably a fairly common thing. Especially at top clubs. It might not be talked about as much, or maybe we don't know about it as much because we're not in the news for other teams. Basically, like we're not in the we're not too involved in like the deep stuff of what's going on at the other clubs, in terms of how we are about our clubs. But yeah, I feel like that's just the thing. But because we were run so bad and so poor, it seems like one of the greatest things ever right now. But I think it's just fairly standard if you're a top club, like, or you're a club that operates in a proper way. I think it's pretty logical. But I'm happy they're doing it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just fairly positive that they're doing it, and they've been able to put in very good clauses and stuff like that that is going to help us out later on, down the line, financially and just as a whole. um Line saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but did he not cost the same as Rice? I think he did, if not more. Which was another thing, and that's how you knew. Um, that's how you knew that even at that time, the PR surrounding that was quite bullshit, because they tried to say that because he wanted Declan Rice, right? And then they tried to say Declan Rice was too expensive. But we ended up signing Anthony, and this was after they shit themselves, after we lost the first two matches. So obviously they happened to find some more money that apparently we didn't have in the beginning. But the matter of the fact was that Declan Rice didn't want to come to us. He wanted to go to Arsenal. He wanted to stay in London. He wanted to be in London. He wanted to stay in London. He rejected us, and they pushed out a PR story saying that we didn't have the financials for it, when really he didn't want to come to Manchester United. He didn't want to go there, but they didn't want to run the story of Declan Rice has rejected us because it looks bad, and it's negative. You know what I mean? So they tried to push it to, I guess it's the lesser of two evils of, oh well, we didn't get rejected. We just didn't, he's just a very expensive player, so we couldn't do that deal. Um, you know, but that's what it was. Axe saying it's nonsensical, but people are irrational. Plus the pressure accumulated regardless for him. If you don't show top tier levels, why have they paid him 80 million? It's hard to accept how incompetent the board was. No, yeah, I mean, again, commercial people doing commercial things, and that's why we ended up where we were, and we ended up with players the way we were. Jemba, yeah, one of the more infamous players for Manchester United. Richard saying everyone wanted Sancho on Man United media, and my voice was shouted down because I said, "Why does no other big team want him?" I mean, yeah, that was another thing. We were like one of the only ones that were. I mean, we were literally one of the only. I think we were actually the only club that wanted him because we spent two transfer windows chasing him, and nobody else came in for him because I think I think clubs looked at him, right? And they were like, okay, he's a good player. He's not shit, and he's not average. He's probably a little bit above average in terms of, the way he was performing and what he was doing, right? But there was certain other aspects that they probably didn't like. Maybe it had to do with, you know, um, the incidences of him showing up too late to training or whatever the case may be. Then they probably also looked at the fact that Borussia Dortmund was asking for a shit ton of money, and they looked at that and they were like, the value doesn't make sense, so we're not gonna go for it. And we were the only ones that were there, and we did it because it was more of a fucking PR move more than anything. It was more for like, because of all the hype, and it's a big signing and it's going to make a splash and it's going to get a lot of attention and a lot of clicks and all that stuff. That seemed more of the reason why they did it. So like, they paid 80 million and they're like, well, we'll probably be able to get this. He's fairly popular amongst the young people on social media, across all platforms. So they're like, we can use that there and make money off of it. And it's an 80 million asset. They write it off on the books. I mean, we've spoken about this before, and how they were probably pretty much operating in that aspect. Everything was commercial. So, um, yeah, 100%, Richard. Lion saying Jemba so shit they named them twice just to make sure. I don't think that's the same. Axe saying also Anthony came in like a wrecking ball, scoring on his debut and scored and second game, and it just fed the fantasy. Yeah, I think that increased the hype, amongst the fans, and then I think the hate for the media came when he did his little ring around the rosy, fidget spin thing. They fucking hated that. And ever since he did that, they've been on his back. And they won't let go. I mean, I seen he even got criticized again for the way he celebrated his penalty, goal. And it's just like, dude, just, I listen, I get it. The one that he did against, forgive me, I forgot the team, the small team that we played last season, right? Where he celebrated, and when we won the penalty shootout against them, that I can understand. It was a little bit too much. It was a little bit over the top. We shouldn't even have been in that situation. It was a bit embarrassing that we ended up there, and then he did that. You know what I mean? I can get that. The dude scored a fucking penalty. He's having a horrid time. He's lost his place. He's not getting minutes, and he's in a bad spot. The guy scored a penalty. The celebration wasn't an over celebration. He was happy to get it out. Just let the fucking guy live, man. Like, it was crazy. It's crazy. Like, the players celebrate. All the players celebrated their goals. All of them celebrated. Garnacho did fucking Ronaldo. You know what I mean? Like, nobody criticizes Garnacho because he plays good. But Anthony, the guy that's struggling, scores a penalty, and he could have missed that penalty. The penalty could have been saved. It could have went the opposite way for him. He scored it. Let the guy celebrate the goal, dude. Who cares? It wasn't so over the top. Like, that's the pile on him is a little bit crazy. Like, I get it. You want to criticize him for his performance in the game, fine. but you're gonna attack him because he played decently okay. We won 7-0, so you have to find the angle of oh, but look at his celebration against Barnsley, like this guy's an embarrassment or whatever. Come on, just let it go, dude. Let it go. Let it go. Um Bebe was another one Fergie got 100% correct with a talent. I mean, Bebe, he literally watched. I don't even think he watched one game. He watched a videotape of him and then signed him. I don't know. I think he just listened to who was that? Kerosh at the time. I think he just took Kerosh's word for it and ended up signing him. And then he probably was like, Kerosh, what the fuck did you recommend us? So like, um Richard saying, "Well, I mean, in comparison with Arnold and Murtaugh." No, yeah, I got you, Richard. I got you. 100%, 100%. It's like I didn't even know if there's a bigger comparison to day and night. If there is one that I can't think of one, that would be what I would use. It's like water and fire, like totally opposites, like not even close. I mean, Arnold Murtaugh and Richard. Um, Arnold Murtaugh and the hell was the other guy's name? Um, Ed Woodward and Ed Woodward. Those guys were just holy shit. I mean, I'm pretty sure we could have gotten a 14-year-old kid that lives and breathes Manchester United and football. We could have stuck them in their job, and they would have done a fucking, 3 times the job they ever did. They would have never made those poor ass decisions they made. Um, Tayab Tayab be another one, but the difference is when it's obvious they can't do the job, they would be out and wouldn't be persistent on playing. Well, the problem is, um, you know, they were able to be moved on because their wages weren't so high and the fees weren't like astronomically huge that even if you took a loss, it wasn't like the biggest loss. So you can afford to take the loss and their wages aren't high, so clubs are willing to take them and you can strike some sort of deal. Where we basically shot ourselves in both feet and the head is that we sign players that aren't up to it. We were overpaying way above their transfer value and we gave them ridiculous wages. So you know, it's like impossible to move them on. I mean, I'm sure they looked to see if they could probably move Anthony on if there was something there, and there's probably no interest because nobody is going to pay the wages he's on, and for the transfer fee when he is playing that bad, and there's such negative just press around him about everything that he does. So, yeah. What if Jemba Jemba Jr. wins Ballon d'Or? Then he will be one of the greatest children to ever come from a professional footballer. Uh, he would be up there with he would be up there with probably Maldini then, because Maldini Senior, Maldini, Maldini, and then obviously Maldini has Paolo as his son playing right now, but his son is nowhere near what he did. Um, Saf's relatives were also football agents. Well, yeah, that probably helped. I didn't know that though. I didn't know that. Were they really? Hmm. But while we're speaking on Anthony, we might as well get on to this and talk about Ten Hag because we got a little sidetracked, but that's okay. So Ten Hag, after speaking on Rashford, also spoke on Anthony and saying that I think every player should give those reactions because he's talking about Anthony's celebration after he scored, which I just mentioned, and Ten Hag saying I think every player should give those reactions. You have to train hard. You have to perform in training. You have to earn the right to play, and when the moment is your chance, you have to take them. So Ten Hag coming out and basically, going back to backing Anthony. And I think, he was probably happy that, or encouraged at least that Anthony did put in at least a decent performance. And, he converted the penalty and was able to get on there. And again, there's bigger fucking things to talk about than this guy celebrating a penalty. The guy is in a terrible place. He's had a very difficult time since he's come to the club, and he's really struggling for confidence. So I understand why he celebrated. It's like a release. He just had to get it out. It wasn't over the top. He didn't run to the midfield fucking shushing everybody or something like that, something crazy. He just went there, he screamed, he smacked the badge because he's saying that he loves this club and he supports it and he's trying his fucking best to get to where he is. So I'm happy that at least, Ten Hag is kind of protecting him on that aspect of that, like saying that, like, I want to see those reactions because that means at least that the player gives a shit. You know what I mean? That they actually care and that it means something to them. Like, okay, maybe they're not doing it, but at least they have the correct attitude in place, that they are trying to get to a place, they are working hard to try and do something to try and improve themselves. And I like that too. I think it's important. It's one thing if you're doing and you're putting the performance in, right? But at the very least, the minimum I could ask is that you actually give a shit and you continue to try. I can't fault somebody for that. If you fail, you fail. Not everybody can be successful at everything. It's just life. But the one thing that I can respect in any player or somebody is that, no matter how good you're playing or how shit you're playing, if you actually give a shit, and you try your hardest and you try to do things, I can at least respect you on that level. um and if you show that, it means something to you to score a goal for Manchester United, to be able to do something, I can respect the player on that level, at least the minimum. So, I think it was good. But then he followed up with this, and this was what Ray said earlier on in the show. Not that much earlier, but a little bit before we went on this whole tirade of things. So Ten Hag went on to talk about the selections after talking about Rashford and Anthony, and he said the manager can only pick 11 players, and then I can only make 5 subs. So make sure you are with those 16 players for every game, and you do it by, on a consistent basis, perform in training, and of course that's the most important. When the chance is there, you have to perform in a game. You have to contribute to a winning team. So I think, from what Ray said earlier, um, he's giving us a little bit of insight. We ask why certain players are not being picked, why they're not being put in part of the team, part of the squad, why some of them are not getting minutes and stuff like that. And he keeps telling us almost the same answer over and over again, that you have to be performing. And the number one thing that seems like, for Eric Ten Hag is that you need to be performing in training. That's step one. He's got a couple steps. You got to be performing in training. Some managers, they might have, or they might bend the rules a little bit for certain players because they might know, like, okay, this player is not the best trainer. He struggles sometimes in training. But when I put him on the pitch, he seems to excel in a game here and there. But Ten Hag, obviously, he's very strict in his ways and his rules and his processes. And his thing is, step one, you got to show me in training. If you're not showing me in training, you're not getting to step two, which is a chance on the pitch. So, or you're going to get very, very limited. You got to give me something. You got to make an argument for yourself for me to give you minutes. So you might get 5 minutes. If you show me a little bit more in training, or, you're stepping it up in training, then I can, you're giving me an argument to give you 10 minutes. Then when I give you these minutes on the pitch, you gotta show me something on that pitch for those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever the fuck it is. You have to make an impact. You have to do something. Get on the ball, make a couple good passes, make a couple good runs. Maybe you're lucky, you get an assist, maybe you get a goal. Something. You gotta put yourself in the conversation. You gotta put yourself in the argument. And this is what he's saying. So when there's players that are not involved, I think, we need to try and remember, like, okay, we might think this player is, has the ability, or we would like to see them to get the opportunity, but maybe they're just not doing it in training. Maybe they're just not showing him enough in training, and therefore, he's not going to give them the they have to play themselves into the opportunity. He's not just going to hand out stuff, which at the end of the day, I kind of agree with. If we're saying that players should be getting on the pitch based on performances, we're only privy to their match performances. We don't know their training performances. Ten Hag seems to take that in as a collective thing, and it's a process, and it's, it's a multiple step thing. So, if they're not getting match time, as frustrating it is for us, we only see one aspect. He sees them in training, and maybe he's like, they don't deserve the opportunity. There's players that are putting in a lot better performances, and they're putting a lot more work in training. So why, I got to give them the opportunity, not this guy. This guy needs to step it up before I give him his chance. So, um, what a segue. Yeah, I was at Old Trafford when George Best brought the Ballon d'Or. Yeah, Richard, what do you think about? So I'm pretty sure that you're like up to date on the updates that we got about Old Trafford. If you're not, I'll circle back in like a couple minutes and we could talk about that again if you want. But what do you think about the developments that have come out about Old Trafford, that potentially they might just completely abandon it if they can't figure out a solution to see how they could keep it around. They might just completely abandon Old Trafford. It might get knocked down. I don't know exactly what, when they say abandon it. Ray saying they forgot Anthony was accused of sexual assault. There's a big problem to deal with. Give him a break. I mean, that's another thing too. He had that off-field issues last season, so that didn't help him last season. But the guy, listen, again, I don't think anybody's making an argument to say that he's going to be, one of the best players in the Premier League. But I certainly think that he can give us a little bit more than what he's been giving us. Because to me, he's been so underwhelming. Like, below 35 million price tag performances. And I don't think he's like, I don't think he's that bad of a player. I think he can at least give us a 35 million, pound performance. On a consistent basis. That's kind of what I'm looking for here for the remainder of the season. If we could get something like that, I'll be happy about it, because we're gonna need him. We're gonna need him. We need every player. We're gonna need him to be able to contribute to the squad positively in some way or another. Whether people like it or not, we're gonna need him. He's part of the squad. He's one of our only options. We have two wingers on each side. We need all the, if we're going to be successful and we're going to have a successful campaign, we need all of them to be performing, if not to the highest level, to a good level, at least the minimum. So, we do. And hopefully, steers clear of any off-field issues, no more off-field distractions. And just, for me, I would tell him, just keep your mouth closed for now, and just do the talking on the pitch. Try and get it done on the pitch, and then after, you can start opening your mouth a little bit more if you want. But right now, you kind of just have to keep your head down and keep working towards getting to a positive position. Um, Richard's saying he has memories which will that he will take with him, but he's excited about a new stadium, especially if Old Trafford goes to the youth and women's team. Well, that's the thing, Richard. It was supposed to be going to the youth and women's team, but we got this, and I'm gonna go back to it now since you want to talk about it. Um, Let me close these up. Uh, not that, not that. This is Gary Neville speaking. So right here, Richard, reported by Chris Wheeler, saying that Manchester United are ready to abandon plans to keep Old Trafford if they build a new stadium. They now realize that scaling down Old Trafford to around a 30,000 capacity, hosting academy and women's fixtures will be too complex and unlikely to work. So if they abandon those plans to keep Old Trafford, I'm assuming that they are just gonna get rid of it. They're just gonna knock it down, so it's going to cease to exist, which is super super sad. And I don't think anybody really wants that. I'm all here for a new stadium, but I said in the beginning of the show, um, you know, I accept we need a new state of the art stadium, and I accept that logically it makes sense that you would have to build a new one. It's easier and it probably costs less and all that stuff. And it just makes more sense. But I don't want Old Trafford to just disappear. I don't think it should disappear. It's an iconic monument. And I was okay with it if they scaled it down, as long as the building was still there, as long as people can still go, go there, go visit there. Um, as long as it was still standing, it was there, like it still existed. I don't want it for it to be gone. And there's many people like you, Richard. And we said this before. There's many people like you there. They have a lot of memories in that place. They've experienced some of their best moments, if not their best moments in their life, in that place. A lot of memories. And some people are with you that you're excited about a new stadium and you're okay with moving on to a new stadium, but Old Trafford has to remain. Some people, they don't want the new stadium at all. They just want Old Trafford, and always Old Trafford, and they're all entitled to their opinion. And I'm not going against any of them. I agree with everything, with all that. And then there's people out in the world that they don't have the opportunity to go Old Trafford right now. They haven't had the opportunity. Some people will never get the opportunity. But there's some people that they might be able to get that opportunity a little bit later, down the road, if they don't have it now. Maybe they don't have it financially. Maybe they just don't have the time. Maybe they have too many things going on in their life and they just can't do it at this moment. But if Old Trafford is there, they can, still one day maybe see it and go there. But if it's not there, that opportunity is robbed from, millions of people around the world that haven't been able to go there yet. And I think that's a very, very sad thing. And I don't think it should happen. I don't. So even if it is a problem, um, to scale it down, right? And have hosting the Academy of Women's fixtures, I still feel like there should be some type of effort or something to preserve it. I don't know how much sense that would necessarily make. I'm speaking more of from a sentimental standpoint right now, but certainly, yeah. I just it would be one of the saddest days in the club to watch that building, watch that stadium just be torn down into just rubble. It would be one of the saddest days in the club, in my opinion, or at least for me. So, um, Ray's saying I think Eric Ten Hag caused some of the problem for Anthony because he played too much. Well, he does do that a lot, and you know, we see it with Rashford, but also, yeah, at the same time, right? You know, he backed him, right? So, like, and he gave him a lot of opportunities. At the same time, it has to go on Anthony. He has to perform as well. So, you know, a lot of managers, maybe they would have dropped him to try and protect him, take him out of the team. But there's somebody like Rashford. He struggled for quite some time, and now hopefully, um, let's see what he does tomorrow. But these last two games, maybe now he's starting to come out of it, and Ten Hag's stubbornness to push him through that, maybe will pay off. Um, yeah, 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 yeah. It's okay, line done. Um, Axe saying sincerely, it's logical and motivational strategy to pick players. Plus, it's data driven. Remember, we don't know their training. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we only see one aspect, and I do understand it because it is frustrating. I mean, even me, like, when I look at the team lineup or the team sheet, I'm like, oh, why isn't this player? Well, why didn't he start this guy? Why didn't he start that guy? And I get it, but later on, you do have to self reflect and be like, well, there's many different aspects that we are not actually always privy to, so you have to keep that in mind. in the moment, sometimes you get caught up because you really want to see a player get a chance, or you want to see the player get some minutes, and you get disappointed or you get a little bit frustrated because you're like, why the hell isn't he playing? Why isn't he at least on the bench or whatever it is? But sometimes when you have some time, just stop and think and be like, well, maybe as much as I like this player and I think he's good, I'm not with him every day. I don't get to see them you know, all the time. And maybe they're just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So unfortunately, they're just not going to be involved like how we want them to be. Um, and then Richard saying, that would change my opinion. Old Trafford has to remain in some form, and that's how I feel, Richard, and that's what I think. I don't think they can. Uh, I just don't see how they can just get rid of it. Like, I just don't see it. And honestly, um, I I I don't think the people that live in Manchester in that area, I don't think they'll allow it. I don't. I think if they try to do it, I think it will cause a big problem in the community and the local people. I don't think they'll allow that to happen. And I hope they don't because I don't want it to happen anyway. So if they try to do it, um, or whatever, I hope then there's a severe pushback on that, and I expect there to be. But yeah, I don't think they will because I think it means it means a lot to all of us around the world. But it probably means a little bit something more extra to the area, to that surrounding area that it's in. And those people, there's generations and generations of people that live in Manchester. Their families of and generations of families that grew up there, you know, from when they were little kids and all that stuff. And I just don't think, those people, they're not gonna stand for that. So, um, Axe saying, been given the place they own, there is no space to build a new one. Uh, oh, they could build. Well, didn't they say they were gonna build it right next door? Didn't they say they were gonna build it like literally like right next to it? So like they can just build a new one next to it, but I mean that is the plan, no? Axe, or am I confusing what you were saying? Uh, because they were gonna scale this down and then they were gonna build the other one right next to it. So technically, they have the space for it. I believe. If I understand what you're saying, I might be confused. Um, Lion saying, but if they demolish it and sell parts and pieces of to fans, new stadium is paid for. I mean, that's actually as much as I don't want it to be demolished. That's actually not a bad idea, Lions. But yeah, I don't even know how to. I wouldn't even know how to feel about that, to be honest, because I don't want it demolished. I don't. So, but yeah, I don't. You're not necessary. That's not really a terrible idea though. Um, but that would be some pretty expensive pieces, and then also, I don't know when you demolish it. Uh, there's only so many pieces you'd be able to sell because some of the pieces would just be um totally just destroyed. It wouldn't even be salvageable. So yeah, there would only be so many that you could actually sell if you were to even do that. Which I don't think they're gonna do, but it's not the worst idea. um, is it true that all fans who own tickets will be asked what should be done in this situation? That is what McCullough said in his video. Well, I think he's going off of the fact that this was not this. I think he's going off of the fact. I mean, there was previous things that were kind of reported in that aspect, but I think he's going off of this, and kind of just putting it maybe a little bit more into his own words. Because they do mention here that um, where does it say that? It says that they will include substantial engagement with fans, community members, local authorities, and the Old Trafford Regeneration Task Force. So that would, what he is saying is probably goes from it probably comes from this, because they are going to be, they are going to be consulted about it. I hope that it's more of a unanimous thing, and that they are, that their opinions have weight and they don't just end up. I mean, it depends what the finer details are, because we're not even really privy to the real situation. You know what I mean? Like, what we're getting news on is like minor details and minor things. The meeting that they have must be in such great detail, and there's probably a shit ton of implications, and we can't do this because this and this and that, and the things that we're not really in the know of right now. So I assume they're gonna, they are going to be involved in some way. Now, what they get told, and then what they decide they want to happen, uh, might be different than what they're saying right now, because they might not be 100% fully aware of all the problems and obstacles that are involved in this situation right now. So, but yeah, I think they don't really have a choice, because uh they're still, Ineos is still trying to win over the fans, and it's one of the promises they made to us when they took over the club, that they were going to listen to the fans more, and the fans were going to be more involved. So it's something they're gonna have to follow through anyway. And it seems like they want to do it. It seems like they actually, like, it's not just for brownie points. It is something that they do see important, so they actually do want to do it, even though it does help them, and regardless, it's a win-win for them, really. um but it does seem like it's something that is genuinely, like, of interest to them, that they do see it in terms of the aspect of a club as a whole, that, like, there has to be a good relationship between us and the local community and all the fans, and even the people that live in this area. Like, there has to be a nice strong bond, so I think they're going for that. So that does encourage me, because I've seen some of these people give their opinions on it, and I'm fairly encouraged, because I think they're gonna do what most of us would probably do, and fight to have Old Trafford stay there in some type of way. Um, Axe saying the Sheik will buy everything, rebuild it in his courtyard. Yeah, it might be. It might, for him, that'll be like the Lego set that United sell. It would be his Lego set. He'd put it in his backyard or something. Um, Richard saying, think what it was like to be at Wembley in 1968 when you were an 8-year-old child, watching Alex Stepney save against the great Eusebio, watching Charlton best and kid score, then seeing that cup at Old Trafford. Yeah, I could only imagine and dream of it, Richard. But you got to live it and experience it, so you're very lucky in that aspect. Uh, yeah, but that's what's beautiful about life. Not everything is a high, not everything is a low. You're lucky in that aspect. People are lucky in other aspects and different stuff. So, yeah, but I'm envy of you in certain aspects, because you really truly got to see some amazing stuff that I wasn't even alive for. I can only watch them on a YouTube highlight or something like that. So to experience it, must be just a whole nother feeling, and a whole nother level. So Ray saying these guys, they want make big projects and they don't have the money for it. Well, Ray, we need to do it. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. They're not wrong. They're not in the wrong here. Sid Jim trying to do this big project. It's we need the big project, because we're Manchester United. We shouldn't be in this situation. This is all the fucking Glazers' fault. because they don't care about the club in the aspect that it should have been cared about, the way we care about it. Um, and Sejim and Ineos and these guys, they're only trying to do what should have been done and what's right for the club. It's not their fault that the club is in such a shit financial situation, and it's not their fault that Old Trafford has been left to rot to its current you know um spot that it's in right now. It's he they're only trying to do they're only trying to improve, and as a club like Manchester United, we should have one of the best, if not the best, stadiums in the world. I mean, it's a disgrace that we don't. It's a disgrace that when it rains, it's a fucking waterfall inside of our stadium, and the water falls on top of our fans. It's a disgrace that like we hear stories, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when teams from other clubs come to Old Trafford, and they're walking out of Old Trafford talking shit about our stadium, about that it's falling apart. There's parts where it's disgusting, or it's fucking embarrassing. We shouldn't have that. So he's just trying to do something, but he can only do what with the cards he's dealt with. He's trying to make a royal flush out of a fucking a 4 and a 5 or something, you know. So I I can't I can't blame him. He needs to be trying to do these big projects because we need them, and really, I mean, the fans, at least we deserve them for the support we give. The club deserves it, in terms of we shouldn't have it should have never been allowed to get to the point that it is now. So now we're going to have to do things in a way that we might not necessarily like, but they are needed. It is 110% needed. So he's gonna have to get that in. There's ways to get the money for that. He's a billionaire businessman. He knows how to raise capital for projects and investments, and not investments but projects and shit like that. So he knows how to get that money. There's ways to do it. I'm sure he's done it before, so they're gonna do it, and hopefully it's not too compromising to the values that we want. um but yeah, it's what are they supposed to do? I mean, at least like Gary Neville said, and I don't agree with Gary Neville on a lot of things that Gary Neville says, right? But he did say in one part here, and when I find it, I will it's in the beginning, where he says, as long as United get a world-class refurbishment or a world-class new stadium, the United fans win, which I agree with, and at least there is an action plan to do something about it after years of nothing. And that's, I agree with Gary Neville 100%. Like, at least this guy is trying to do something. Maybe he doesn't have the money for it. But you know what? Out of respect to us, he believes that we deserve to have that thing, and we should have that thing. And I think many of us think we should have stuff to that stature. And he's just trying to give us something. And after years of literally nothing, I could always respect when an effort is being made to try and make improvements. Over literally nothing being done. So um Richard saying, yeah, they can build it backwards so they have the land. Axe is saying it's impossible. There is not enough space for two stadiums. That is what I believe. Yeah, maybe. Well, maybe that's why they wanted to scale it down, because they need a little bit more space. So it'd be like smaller, so they would get a little bit extra space. Maybe Axe, or I was thinking they were gonna scale it down because there was no need for it to be. There's no need for it to be 70,000 seater. Because it's not gonna you're not gonna sell it. You're not gonna fill it up with women and youth teams. You're not going to fill up 70,000, so there was no need. But maybe they need the extra space as well. Maybe that's one of the things. Um, so yeah. No, I've never seen that lines. I don't actually know what that is. Um, I think I'm too young for that. I don't. I think that was before my time. Um, Ray's saying to rebuild the stadium section by section. Uh, yeah. If it's feasible and they can do it, it has to make sense though. It has to make this is the problem because we don't know all the information. It has to make sense because like if you rebuild it piece by piece, it's probably going to be a shit ton more expensive. So number one, we got to get we got to have the money for it. Also, it has to be sustainable because if you rebuild one section, right, and that takes who knows how long to do, if it takes, because I don't know, sometimes shit takes like a year or whatever or longer. I don't know how bad the current situation is, like exactly how long it would take to rebuild certain sections. If we're going to continue playing in it, something like Madrid did where they closed one section, we're gonna have to deal with that. And then it depends how much more money that's going to cost, because I believe they said that's the more expensive option. And then how sustainable is that rebuilding going to be? Because if it only lasts 5 years, it's not really worth the money to do it. Because then we're going to need to do even more improvements and it's going to be even more expensive. It's probably going to end up costing triple the amount that it is to build a new stadium. So it has to be feasible. But if it is feasible, I would 100% be for rebuilding it section by section because I think you can keep it. I mean, the dream would be to keep it and just modernize the shit out of it. Keep certain hints of the old, like the aura of it, right? But just modernize the shit out of it and just make it great. And just make it like a multi-purpose type of stadium. But if they like, you can't do that because it's just like not. It's just it's not worth it, and it's almost fucking impossible because of the state that it's in. Then then we can't. Then we can't. There's nothing you could do. It's out of our hands. Um, but Axe is agreeing with that, except the small stand, which can't be upgraded anymore. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. There's many things like that, like Axe is mentioning. Like the small stand, you can't even upgrade it. It's just like restricted. It's not possible to do it. And there might be other shit that we don't even know, that are causing all types of problems, and which is why maybe they're not gonna do it. And maybe they're gonna have to go the route that many of us might not like, but it might be the best possible route. Ray's saying if Sir Jim is your United supporter, he will not throw history away. It's all about money, like the Glazes. I mean, we will see. I guess it depends. I don't think he's. I don't know. I guess it depends. I guess it would depend what their reason is. Uh, because I think they looked into, like, I get what you're saying, but I think they looked into originally just keeping Old Trafford, but it has to make sense for the club and him, also. Like, but I don't know if he's putting in his own money towards this. Obviously, it's going to be like some type of a business project with investors and whatnot. Like they're going to have to get funding from somewhere. So, there's just it's just business at the end of the day. I don't think he's like necessarily like trying to just. I don't think he's like the Glazers in the fact that like he's just trying to suck money out of the club. I think there's money to be made there, and I don't hold him against it for making money. At the end of the day, it is a fucking business, and tons of people that own that. All owners across football, uh, they make their money off of it. That's why they're there. It's not just because they're a fan, and it's something fun for them to do. They make money, but at the same time, they actually give a shit. And I think Sir Jim cares. Um, like the Glazers, they don't give a fuck. They don't care at all. They don't care about the people that live there. They don't care about the state of the club per se. As long as it makes some money, I don't think Sir Jim is sitting there like, yeah, I'm here to fucking take all the money like the Glazers. Like, I don't think so. I think he's being smart business wise, because you can't just throw you can't just burn money away, especially when we're not in a good financial aspect. And then also, like, again, he is a businessman, so like they have to do a deal that makes sense business wise as well. You're not just gonna fucking, throw money away for free. um Rich is saying, so if you build and keep Old Trafford, it will almost be like a Z shape. Then, wait, what's a Z shape? Like the area itself, like the area itself, or it would be a Z. It would be like this. You cannot rebuild this section by section, because if you ever are at Old Trafford, you will see we have a dip where for parts of the game, people on the right cannot see the players, that makes it bad. And the economics would not allow it. Yeah, there's so many, like, there's so much like bullshit, and there's just so much like factors, like BS factors that are involved in this. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's not black and white thing to do. There's so many like mitigating factors that it actually really makes it a pain in the ass situation. Um, there's a dip, like there's something that obstructs the. I believe what he's saying is there's a obstruction that it blocks the views of the fans or something like that. I don't know, because I've never been in there. So, I got the feeling that Jim really wants a new stadium. I mean, we need a new stadium. We do, because it's just financially it would just make the club better. I mean, at the end of the day, that would probably just help the Glazers make more money. But unfortunately, we are, it's like a Siamese twin, and one's poison. Uh, we don't want to be connected at the hip with them, but unfortunately we are. And if the club makes more money, which puts us in a better financial situation, which is good for us in terms of being able to buy players and have great training facilities and all that good shit that comes with the club, that also means that the Glazers are going to be making more money, and Sir Jim will make money as well. But Sir Jim's actually trying to do shit and improve the club. The Glazers haven't done fuck all. So, but unfortunately they're going to make money on top of it as well. um so Rich is saying there's a bevel in the pitch. So if you sit on the right hand side for the part of the game, you cannot see players on the left hand side. It would not pass today's planning perm. I got you. Yeah, that's a fucking whole problem. We built a new stadium. Even the name goes away. I mean, it might. I don't think it should. It might, because of depends where we get the money from. Um, it might. It seems like they're trying to do that. Um, Now, one of the suggestions is our sponsor Snapdragon was saying last time that um, they don't want to they don't want it called Snapdragon Stadium, but what they would want to do is maybe they would be interested in it being like Old Trafford powered by Snapdragon or something like that, where it would keep the Old Trafford name, but they would add some type of business slogan or tag to Old Trafford. Um, so, and hopefully, I think, again, the fans are going to be consulted on this, especially the local ones. I think they would they would put up a very big fight for it to continue to be called Old Trafford. I think that's one of the things that's you can probably more so do, is to keep it named Old Trafford, more than anything. Keeping the same one or building a new one is way more difficult, but to keep the name, I think, is a way easier thing to be able to achieve, and I think it's definitely doable. So I hope not, Ray. I hope they keep it Old Trafford if they build a new one. They should. They should, especially if they're gonna get rid of the current Old Trafford. They should. Um, they should. I don't think they should call it New Trafford. That just sounds weird. Um, and I don't think many fans would like that anyway. So, What is a bevel? Yeah, so the new stadium would almost be starting where the gable wall of Old Trafford is. No, it could be called no, it could be called OT at the new stadium. Yeah, maybe. Plus what I would do is on match day I have Old Trafford as a walkway into the new stadium and have videos of historic it's actually a very good idea, Richard. Actually, that would be very, very cool if they did something like that. Almost like a yeah, almost like an entrance, and it's almost like you're walking. It would almost be like you're walking through time, like it's like you went in the past and you're like going into the future. You know what I mean? And then when you get to the end of Old Trafford, you end up like in the new stadium or like in front of the new stadium. And then that's like the future. That would actually be very, very cool if they could do something like that. Um, and I think, they should some if they can't do that exactly, something to that effect. I think keep it as a fucking museum, something. I don't know anything. But don't knock it down. Don't knock it down. Something. Uh, like a curve. Yeah. If the new stadium looks anything like a Snapdragon Stadium, would be. No, no. So what we're gonna do is let me check the news to see if we got any updated news, and then we're gonna get out of here because we've been live for a little bit, and I got some things I gotta do. It is Friday, and I'm gonna be going somewhere in a little bit. So let me check the news for you. Let me see if we got any updates. The show has been absolutely fantastic. If you guys didn't smash the like button for me yet, please smash the like button. I greatly appreciate it. And to everybody that has already, thank you very much. So we have this the second part of Ten Hag's press conference has come out. So let me scan through this and I'll read out some of the more important ones because sometimes they just really do ask him just garbage questions, and it doesn't make for a very exciting and I'll give predictions, yes, line before we go. You guys can drop your predictions in the chat right now because I can't see the chat, so I'm not ignoring you. Keep having talks and I will jump back in a couple minutes once I go through this news because I want to see what Ten Hag said. So Eric Ten Hag, I guess, got asked more about Marcus Rashford because he had more to say on Rashford and said Rashford always knew, and every player knows, that if your lifestyle is not right, you cannot perform. You don't reach the right level if you don't have a healthy, disciplined life outside of Carrington. So very, very interesting comments there from Eric Ten Hag, kind of talking about Rashford off the field. I mean, we do know that he was involved in that incident last season, where he did break curfew and then didn't go to training because he went out drinking and partying at Belfast, and that was a whole situation and problem. And we have spoken on this channel as well previously that he was engaged to his then fiance at that time for and they've been with each other for a very long time, and they ended up going their separate ways, and that was definitely a negative in his life as well, definitely not a positive. um and there was a couple other off field things. He had a couple people that he knew passed away suddenly and unfortunately. So yeah, I see what Ten Hag is saying there, and we've had discussions about that, but we try not to go too far into it because we don't know, their day to day personal lives. We're not with them, and we don't know what they actually do or what goes on behind the scenes in that aspect. And you try not to assassinate, their character as a human being. When you don't know, especially when you don't know. But then Hag then also said every player who plays in the Premier League and especially at this club has to be resilient. Which we were talking about that. Football career is not all about ups. There are always downs. Marcus Rashford has experienced. He knows. Marcus Rashford has experience. He knows how to fight. when there are setbacks, he has taken matters into his own hands, and I think he is on the right track. He has started the season very well. Now he has to keep going and improve. And I agree with Ten Hag there. I don't think he started necessarily that good. I think the first couple games kind of looked like the continuance of from last season, but I think the past two matches he's definitely improved. Um and I do think that, there comes a point where, as a player, you got to look yourself in the mirror and you have to take it into your own hands. It's up to you, especially, and I mentioned this before to Ray when he said about Anthony, and he said that Ten Hag kept playing Anthony, and he doesn't think that that helped Anthony. It probably made it worse, and maybe it did. But at the same time, I did say that, he did kept giving him chances. So, it was in Anthony's hands to turn it around. He might have been struggling, but you got to do something for yourself. Nobody else is going to be able to make you turn it around. You have to turn it around. So, he did keep giving Anthony chances, but he wasn't able to do it. And, Ten Hag saying here about Marcus Rashford, he's taking matters into his own hands. He thinks he's on the right track. And, now he has to keep going and improve, and this is what I keep talking about. This is the message I keep sending. Like, I'm not sitting here, we're not declaring Marcus Rashford is back, he's back to his best, let's go. But we're not saying that. We're saying he's going in slowly but surely. He's going in the right direction right now, and all he has to do is just keep building on it little by little. He's going in the right direction, and hopefully he keeps continuing in the right direction, one step at a time, one step at a time. When you're in the hole, you don't just try to jump out of the hole, right? You have to, if you're gonna climb out of the hole, you take one step at a time. You don't just try and jump from the bottom of the pit and get out, because you're not gonna get out. So one step at a time. And I think, hopefully, let's see what he does tomorrow. I really hope he does have a good game, because I'm tired of, number one, I'm tired of criticizing him, because, again, he is one of my favorite players. I do like him. And I'm just tired of the negativity around it. I'm really tired. Negativity is so, it's just so draining, dude. It is. I hate it. I don't want it anymore. And it makes it extremely hard to defend him. All my friends that watch football, that are fans of other teams, of other clubs, Arsenal, fucking Liverpool, Chelsea, and this and that. They're talking all types of shit, and saying some really negative stuff about him, and it's so hard to defend. It's hard for me to defend him, because he's just he hasn't been giving me anything to back him up on. I can't. It's just like, from a place of logic, I can't. But hopefully he does, because I want to be praising him, and I want him to do good, and I want to be able to, you know, rub it in the faces of even, the rivals of, look at Rashford, look how good he's doing. Look how good he is in the, he's performing one of the best in the league. Like, that's what I want to be doing. I don't want to be fucking sitting here talking about he's playing like shit and this. I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm tired of it. So hopefully, and coincidentally enough, I did decide to wear this jersey today. Haven't worn it in quite a while. So I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. So I didn't wear it in a while. But I felt like wearing it today. So yeah. Um, so Ten Hag also spoke on Agarthe a little bit, and said he hasn't had many sessions, but he is now able to start. Ding 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 ding. He is still in the adaptation process. He needs to know the principles, the rules, and his teammates. It will take time, but it will come naturally, and he will be a very good player for us. So at the end, I think some very big comments from Eric Ten Hag. You know, I hope, because he's made these statements now. So he said he said he's now able to start. So I'm gonna say this for Eric Ten Hag's sake, and not just because it's something that I want to see, but he better fucking start tomorrow, Eric. He better start tomorrow because you literally just made the statement saying that he is now able to start. And if you don't start him tomorrow, I'm going to be disappointed, but there's going to be a lot of fans that are going to be very, very pissed off at you. Especially if the result doesn't go well. Especially if the result doesn't go well. Because you literally, you're saying he's available to start and then you don't start him. If we don't get that win, it's going to be a very bad day at the office for you, Eric. So hopefully, that means we're going to see Ugarte start tomorrow, which I kind of felt like was going to happen just solely because he did sub him off against last match, and I was going with the theory of the players that he subbed off and saved the minutes. They're the players that are most likely going to start against Crystal Palace. I don't think Garnacho is going to start. There is a chance he might drop Diallo and play Garnacho. I think it would be unfair to Diallo because I don't think Diallo, deserves to necessarily be dropped just because Garnacho is playing well. But for sure, Marcus Rashford ain't getting dropped. And Garnacho did play, if I'm not mistaken, he did play the full 90 minutes. So, yeah, I think anybody that played the full 90 minutes, I don't think that they're going to be starting tomorrow, other than, did the low play the full 90 minutes? Because obviously he'll start, like barring one or two players, whatever. Um, and then Bobby just said this. Ten Hag also has said something about Ahmad, and he said he's doing very well. I would say that since January, he has made a lot of progress, which he has. And now, in every game, he is taken into consideration. I hope he continues in this way. He has qualities that can really help a team. So, yeah, pretty much, what I was saying. But a little less, trying to read into that, that's a little less, it's a little less confident, I guess, or whatever, assuring that he might start tomorrow because the way he said it, like he's saying in every game he is taken into consideration, so it's not really like he's earned that spot type of comment. It's more of like he's fought his way into consideration. Like he's there, he's battling it out right now. He hasn't 100% solidified it. He might get dropped here and there, but he's definitely always in contention. That's how I'm reading into that. So that's a little interesting too. So maybe Garnacho will come in and play on the right. I would even put Marcus on the right. Marcus scored the first goal from the right, and had some very good plays in the last match off of the right. So if you're gonna go do that, I would at least have Rashford right, Garnacho left. Ten Hag has spoken on Mount as well, saying we already had a glimpse at the start of the season of what he is capable of. What he needs is a long period without injury. I think that you could say that for a couple players, but yes. He then said where he can train fully with the team and play with the team, and everyone will see his qualities. So let's hope we get that because I want him to be doing that as well. Ten Hag saying, I saw again at the beginning of the season what Mount can bring to a team, and I'm sure that once he has a long run, he will really step up. I'm convinced of that. So, Ten Hag really backing Mason Mount there, and hopefully he can stay injury free because I'd like to see him, really start digging into his Manchester United career. It's been a lot of stop and go. It's been a struggle for him. Because the inconsistency of being available. So I would like that. And he does add that energy, and he was playing pretty good in the beginning of the season before he got injured. So I would like for him to come back and then stay fit so we could get that consistency from him. Ten Hag again talking about Rashford back with England. I think he will always be an option for every manager, but it's not up to me. It's up to the England manager. Fucking British media. And then Ten Hag talking about injuries, saying you can't avoid injuries. There are so many things you have no influence on. It can still happen, but there are also things you can do something about it. We did analysis. Okay, a little interesting here. We did analyses over the summer, and we continue to work on improvements all the time to have control over it as much as possible. Okay, so that's encouraging. Maybe they've corrected some wrongs that they were doing that led to a couple more reoccurring injuries, maybe some less serious injuries, or maybe it led to some serious injuries. So hopefully, they've sorted and fixed that out, and we'll have a little bit less of those injuries. Let me see if we got anything else while we were there. Not police, but no. Um, yeah, we did those comments. Diallo. Ten Hag asked if Marcus Rashford is back fully focused after off-field incidents last season, saying that I think he always knew. Oh no, we did that one already. Yeah, you don't get the right levels when you don't have good and disciplined life away from Carrington, and I would agree with that. So hopefully, if he's saying that, because again, even though I'm sure Eric Ten Hag is telling Marcus Rashford that at the end of the day, it's down to the individual and what they do. Eric Ten Hag does not live with Marcus Rashford. He does not, follow Marcus Rashford around every day of the, if Marcus Rashford wants to decide to leave his house at midnight to go somewhere when he's supposed to be in bed sleeping so he could get a nice good rest and be, prepared for the next day, whether it's training or a match or whatever, Eric Ten Hag isn't going to be there to stop him. Eric Ten Hag can only give him guidance. It's up to the individual and the player. But 100%, I agree with that sentiment, and I would prefer that. And I think that's why it's important also when we are looking at player profiles. Fergie used to do this all the time, and Fergie would do it himself. He would sit down with the player and fucking interview them, like basically grill them and be like, what do you do when you're not playing football? What's your life like? You have a wife at home? And he would prefer them to have wives at home, because then he knew that they weren't going out at night fucking around, going to clubs and shit. It's just less of a headache. You're a family man, you stay home, you take time with the family, good kids. That means you're less likely to go out drinking, less likely to go out partying and end up with a wrong crowd, and stuff like that. And Fergie used to take great deal in doing those things. And we definitely we definitely need to be back to doing that. I think we are doing some version of that, in terms of, if you look at the profile of player that we've brung in already this season, and the profiles of players that we are scouting. They seem to be people with very good head on their shoulders. So yeah, and that is it. It wasn't too much of an update. It wasn't too big of an update. It was just a couple things, couple questions, but we covered them all pretty much. So I think that's about it. Let me get back to the chat, because you guys are just going crazy in here, and I'm missing it all. Richard, okay, yeah. So Richard, we don't have memberships. So it's not about the subscribers. It's actually about the amount of watch hours. And we are currently a little bit just over half. We need 3,000 total watch hours. We have about, I don't know if I can check this while I'm live, but I can try. And I will tell you on a live. So we are at 2,836 subscribers, which is great. Hopefully, we're aiming for the 3K. We'll get there soon, and hopefully soon. But we're grinding, and we're on our journey for that. And then to get the memberships, we have about 1,647 public watch hours, and we need 3,000. So we're a little bit over half. And we can make that push for it, hopefully I'm aiming by the end of the year. I think we should be able to get there with the way things are going, and we're getting a lot of there's going to be a lot more streams because there's a lot more games and then stuff like that and matches. So we're going to be pumping it up, and I did take those 2 months off, so that kind of did slow things down. But we are getting back into the groove of stuff. So yeah, and then once we get that, obviously, I will make a huge announcement, and I do have some plans for that. I do plan on getting like custom stuff made specifically for the memberships and stuff like that. So we will when we get there. We will get there. 100%. I will have it announced, and we could talk about that as well. But I appreciate you asking why. Yeah, don't worry, don't worry. When we get there, we get there. We just as it comes along. I just enjoy having the conversations and being live with you guys and discussing the matches and stuff. That's more of a secondary thing, but it'll come along with the process. Um, Ray saying I need to visit Old Trafford before they knock down. Well, hopefully they don't knock it down, but yeah, for sure. Definitely gotta go. Like me, I was saying I gotta go see it as well. So, um, 100%. Uh, Christ on a pike spelling Rashford backward to front was difficult. Yeah, it's because the camera's inverted. I have to invert the camera, otherwise my face like looks. I don't know. It's very weird. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I don't have like a professional camera. But the cameras do this weird thing where if you don't, so like I would prefer to have it so you can read this, so it would actually say Manchester United and it's not backwards. But if I don't invert the camera the opposite way, then my face like goes like this for some reason, and I don't know why, but it looks very weird. So I have to invert the camera, um, and I don't know if that's just a camera issue or maybe it's my face. I I have no clue. I have no clue, but it's been like that since I started. I don't know why. Um, Yeah, there you go. The camera was mirroring the shirt. Yeah, yeah. I have to mirror it because then otherwise, show you. Um, that's it's I don't know. I feel like this is gonna fuck up everything if I do that. I actually don't even know where that is. I don't know where the settings is. To be honest, I have no clue. I Maybe we'll do it next time because I don't know. Oh wait, I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. I'm gonna do it, but I'm changing it back, just so you know. Um, nope, I lost it again. I thought I had it, and I don't have it because I don't know what the hell happened to it. Oh, I can't. I can't because I'm using it. I'm live. It won't let me. It won't let me. It's grayed out. Well, no, Mount has no energy. Well, we know Mount has energy. Yeah. Eric, does it not say something about English media when two of the most reliable sources are American based? The Muppeteers and the Athletic. I guess it does. Yeah. I never really thought about it in that aspect, but yeah. Uh, yeah. Hmm. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a reason of like why would you allow yourself as a English media English journalist to be out credited by two American based places, because surely you don't want that. Um, yeah, but it does. It's sad at the same time. But it's been like that for a really long time. I mean, the biggest examples always was with England. You know, especially with England. I always used to hear it, when I was younger. I always used to hear about, what they used to do, um, how the media would treat the English players, when they were on England on international duty, and it was really, really bad. Um, so yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's strange. They really the personalities, like, they will overhype the shit out of an English player. Uh, but then there's so many times where they just absolutely just rip them to shreds. And usually it's unnecessary too. So it's always been a strange relationship to me. I never really been able to understand it. Um, so if you leave a black screen live running, and we just click on it and leave it running in the background now and then, we should get there soon enough, right? Yeah, do one of those streams. Those streams on I don't know if you guys know about Twitch. I'm sure some of you know. Some of you might not know. But on Twitch there's literally people that are streamers that they do streams of them sleeping. So they sleep in a bed, right? They're in bed sleeping, and and they have the live stream on, and it's just and people just watch this person sleep. So they sleep for 8, 10, 12 hours, and the people go in there and watch them sleep. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me don't ask me what that's about, cuz I have no clue, and I don't know who the hell would tune into that. But they literally do that shit, and it blows my mind cuz they make money while they're sleeping off of it, cuz people like send them money, and it's and they get views, and it blows my mind. I don't really understand what the hype is about watching somebody sleep. Like, there's nothing fucking going on. But it is a thing. We could do a sleep stream. You guys could just jump in while I'm sleeping. Um, do they sleep with the lights turned on or no? Some of them do. Some of them, I think they wear like the little mask thing, so they don't see the lights, but they leave the lights on so like they can be seen by the camera. I've seen once or twice. Um, because the little previews pop up like the lights are off, so you can't really see shit. Um, I don't understand the fascination about it, but it's apparently it's a fucking thing. So Twitch is a scary place. I never feel safe there. Yeah, there's some very interesting things that happen on there. It can definitely be a scary place to be. I constantly see. I'm okay because I'm an adult, so uh, you know, if there's some weird shit or something that's like whatever, I can at least handle it. Of like, all right, what the hell was that, and move on. My mind immediately goes to, imagine being like an 8-year-old child or a fucking 10-year-old child, and you go on to here and you see this weird shit going on over here. Like, I'm like, somebody please help these kids, man, because I was like, they're in so much trouble. They're in so much trouble. Uh, you know, uh, Jesus, we all can do that. The fuck. Well, I assume you need to have, well, number one, it seems to be more of a female type of thing. Not that it's not that they're wearing like inappropriate clothing or any of that. They're literally in pajamas and shit, and they're undercover. So it's not, you're not seeing anything, but it seems to be a female thing where like people are going to watch females sleep. So I don't, I've never really seen or heard of a male doing these types of streams. Anytime I've ever seen it or whatever, it's been female. So it seems like it's a female thing. I don't know. So not everybody can do it, Axe, I think. And then also, no, female streamers. Um, and then, and then, and then also, I believe you probably have to have some type of following. Like, I think if nobody really knows you, you know what I mean? No one's just gonna stop by and be like, "Oh, cool! Like that person's sleeping. Like, let me go check it out." It's mostly like their normal viewers that they have. Like, if they have about 1,000 viewers consistently, uh, you know, they're gonna show up regardless, just to jump in there and support their streamer, which is always cool anyway. So I can't hate on them for that necessarily, but there are some people that just I think that's their little niche that they enjoy to do. So I don't know. Yeah, very very strange. The internet could be a very strange and scary place sometimes, but it can also be very beautiful. Like our channel, which I think is very beautiful. I love our discussions and I love our community. And hopefully, we get some people that drop by and come, they drop by every once in a while. Hopefully we find more people like you guys, because you guys are always here. Richard's always here, Axe is here, Lions comes in and out, but we love Lions because he was, one of the OGs. Is one of the OGs. Ray is here. Sadiq, I miss Sadiq. Sadiq, I miss your chats. I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah, we got lost in that. And then Lyle's been MIA a little bit because he's got some stuff going on with work and stuff, so that's always understandable. So, Richard saying, I have a mask of Frankenstein. My wife makes me wear it so she thinks she is with someone handsome. No, don't be mean to yourself, Richard. Don't be mean to yourself. Put the mask on her next time. See how she likes it. See how she likes that feeling. Put the mask on. Tell her to wear the mask. This is already turning in the wrong direction. Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. On that note, we're gonna end it because I gotta get ready. I got things to do. I know it's all fun, Richard. We're having laughs. We're having laughs. But we're gonna end it. I gotta go. So thank you. If everybody, if you smash the like button for me, thank you. If you haven't, if you can, I would greatly appreciate it because it helps us out. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. If you enjoy the content, we want you in here. We want you part of the community. Get involved in the chat. Come on the next show. If you had nothing to say today, you can get involved in the next one and the one after that. You're always welcome to voice your opinion. This channel does not silence anybody, as long as you are respectful, of course. But thank you, everybody. It was a fantastic show. Very, very lovely. I had a very good time, and a very, very good discussion. And I think a couple of you missed it, but I did get a little emotional in the beginning. So if you missed that, you can go check that out in the beginning of the video when it was just a couple of us in here talking about Old Trafford. So I did not mean for that, but it just happened. So it is what it is. And not embarrassed by it, but it is what it is. So thank you guys for being here. We will see you tomorrow. Red Devil recap, as always, live after the match, probably anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes after the match ends. Give me time to set up the show, and we will go live for sure. So I hope you're all there, and everybody have a good night. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Axe. Thank you, Lion. Shout out Sadiq. I'm sorry I missed your chats earlier. They got lost. Won't happen again, but I hope to hear from you tomorrow after the match. And anybody else, I don't think that was it. That was it for today. So thank you guys, and I will catch you guys later. Be good, stay safe, and hopefully we get the 3 points. Oh, before I go, match predictions, because we didn't do it. I think honestly, I can see a draw happening. But I obviously I want the win. So I'm gonna go for 2-1 Manchester United. I think is something that we can happen. I can see a draw happening though. I hope not. I hope we get 3 points. But I could see that happening. Maybe like a 1-1. But no, I'm going 2-1. 2-1 Manchester United. I'm gonna try and predict. I think Marcus Rashford will get another goal. And I think I will say either Joshua Zirkzee or man, it depends. If Alejandro Garnacho's playing, he'll score. For sure. Richard saying 3-0. Lions is saying 3-0 United. Ray saying we'll win 3-1. All right, I like the optimism a little bit more than me. I don't know why. It's probably because the last few times we played Crystal Palace, it's been a bit of a struggle for us, and it's been a little bit hard. So I'm a little bit worried about it, even though they aren't in like great form, which actually worries me a little bit more because that means probability wise, you would say at some point they have to get a W, and they're at home. So I'm a little bit worried, but I'm trying to stay positive. So I think we'll get it. I think we'll get the 3 points. Let's go. Let's go. We'll be ready. And we'll see you all here tomorrow. Rashi hat trick. I don't know. Hey, listen, if he scores the hat trick, you'll see the kid again tomorrow for sure. Hopefully he has a really good performance. I'm hoping so. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Be good. Have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. Love.